Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the World Online Racing YouTube channel. Tonight, it all comes down to this. 10 races have come and gone with 8 different winners and 14 podium sitters. 10 races of high drama intensity and pure racing genius. Just 3 drivers remain in the title fight, with Nicholas Longuet sitting 25 points off the lead. The attention turns to just 2, Jake Benham and Thomas Ronhaar, level on points heading into the final race of the season. I mean, where have we seen this before, Luke? It's a winner takes all in Austria tonight, but which way will it go? My name is Dan Field, and for the final time, not only this season, but for good, I'm being joined by Luke Etheridge. Luke, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thanks. Good evening, Dan. Good evening to everyone that is watching at home. It should be a good one tonight, shouldn't it? Austria, we were talking before the stream started. What a great, simple circuit it is for racing in general, and especially in league racing. And like you said, the top 2 in the championship tied on points, but if they slip up, there is a very slim opportunity that Nicholas Longuet could take the championship. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic race. I am sure of it. It's Austria as well. You never know. A bit of weather could come into play. And as we saw in Mexico last time out, there's penalties and all different sorts of excitement could make it go right down to the final lap.
Yep, absolutely. This has the makings of potentially one of the best races we've seen on the PC platform. I mean, last season it was very close in the title fight, and it was between 3 drivers as well, but I don't believe that Jan Ortmann and Thomas Ronhaar were level on points heading into the final race of the season. That makes it a lot easier for us, Luke, because of course the permutation's going to be whoever finishes ahead, or if they both don't finish in the points, it's going to go the way of Thomas Ronhaar due to the fact that he has more wins than Benham. And then if neither of them score points, but Nicholas Longuet wins this race, he will be the champion. So there is still a slim chance of him taking the title, but who knows? Anything can happen in league racing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Longuet's in a nice situation where he can just go all-out attack. He's not going to think about anything at the moment. He's just going to go for things. Ronhaar and Benham have got to be a bit more, circumspect. But obviously, when it gets to the final few laps, they're just going to be going for it, going all guns blazing to wait and see what can happen. And like you said, it is very simple. All Ronhaar has to do is make sure that he scores points and finishes ahead of, Jake Benham. All Jake's got to do is make sure he scores points and finishes ahead of Ronhaar. All Nico's got to do is just hope for a bit of a miracle. But you never know what could happen. Mistakes in qualifying or anything could happen. I mean, it's so emphasizing, in fact, that I see Mrs. Field has decided to pop in and see what's happening.
Yeah, I don't know why my mum's popped in, but she knows that at 7 o'clock that's commentary time. So sorry about that, everyone. I mean, she gets a little cameo in. I'm sure she'd have loved to have had that. I mean, wow, I'm completely distracted by that fact. But talking about this circuit, Luke, I mean, there's 3 long straights with 3 heavy braking zones at the end of them. It should mean for some fantastic battling all evening throughout this grid. And if I'm not mistaken, I think we do have a pretty solid running order. I'm noticing in the lobby, the likes of Danny Berejnay racing at this. Of course, we have Nicholas Longuet, Jake Benham, and Thomas Ronhaar going to be here as well. I think a fan favourite, Dylan Warren in the McLaren. He's going to be making his appearance this evening. Some very high caliber drivers.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can see the ones that are on screen on there at the moment. There are a few that are still waiting to join. So Jake Benham, Alessio De Capra, and all, a current Mercedes Esports driver and a former Williams Esports driver there in the Mercedes, Parnell and Fassi in the Red Bull, Longuet Maina in the Ferrari. It's going to be Dylan Warren and Andrei Tarabukin in the McLaren, Tycho Hardy, Harlan Marquis in the Alpine, and all a Hungarian lineup of Ben Shashabo Konye and Istvan Puki in the Alpha Tauri. In the Aston Martin, it's going to be the return of Primoz Miklavčić alongside Daniel Koya, Cameron Dowds and Jack West in the Williams. In fact, I believe this is Cameron's first race in the top tier in WOR, and what a place to do it. Berejnay and Baena in the Alfa Romeo. I think Danny Berejnay we know is going to be one to watch. And then Thomas Ronhaar and Xander Van Dijken in the Haas. So, interesting that none of the championship contenders have got their main teammates with them. So whether we are going to see any teamed games being played, we'll have to wait and see. But, allegiances outside of teams could also come into play. It's going to be a very tactical race. It's going to be an interesting 36 laps, I think, especially for those that are involved in the championship battle, just trying to make sure that they are staying out of everyone's way.
Yeah, I mean, everyone I think is going to be walking on eggshells around the likes of Jake Benham, Thomas Ronhaar, maybe even Nicholas Longuet, because, of course, anything that they do, that can affect the championship hunt in the end. And who knows where personal biases will lie. I do hope that it doesn't affect the competitive integrity of this evening. But yeah, really looking forward to getting this one underway. Of course, we've got the 18 minutes of Q1 that leads into the 15 minutes of Q2 and then the 12 minutes of Q3. Of course, this is the shortest lap on the F1 calendar, Luke. That means we should have probably the closest qualifying we've seen all season.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're talking what, 62, 63 second qualifying times around here. It is thick and fast. I mean, 10 corners. We saw them on the track map. If we get it up again, officially, it is 10 corners. Turn number 2 is probably the easiest corner on the Formula 1 calendar. 4 and 5 sort of lead into each other. You know, 8 is probably a bit more of a corner. But there we go. We've got 7 or 8 real corners around here. 3 DRS zones. Half the circuit, basically, is a DRS zone. It's going to be so important. Really looking forward to seeing... Yeah, just to seeing what can happen. And like you said, qualifying's close anyway. We're used to seeing in Q1 top 15 drivers separated by about 2 or 3 tenths of a second. Get all the top 20 separated by that margin here. One tiny little lockup, lose a tenth of a second. Could be the difference between starting in the top 10 and starting on the back row of the grid, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, who knows what is going to come from this evening. It's going to be a fantastic watch, of course. Last time we came here in season 13, instead of it being the last round of the season, it was round number 1. That race was, of course, won by Lucas Blakely. Jake Benham did end up finishing in second. I'm just trying to see. Thomas Ronhaar ended up finishing in P4. So our 2 championship rivals heading into this one certainly have the potential to be right at the front of the order, and Nicholas Longuet actually finished in 3rd in that race as well. So you know, there's still plenty, you know, all of these guys very quick around this track. I'm very much looking forward to it today. For some reason my camera keeps flicking on black and white. I'm not too sure why, but yeah, who knows coming into this one, Luke. I mean, they're a bit slow getting into this one. I think we finally got all 20 drivers in the lobby, so hopefully we're not too far away from seeing some action.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm looking forward to this one. I think that is pretty much clear. We knew it was going to be a fantastic circuit. It almost seems a bit of a mainstay now in league racing. Austria it just always seems to have, you know, great dramatic moments. Whether it's, you know, Garner Watmere smashing his headset. I think probably one of the most watched league racing clips ever, really, to be honest, when that happened. We've seen so much happen. And yeah, all these drivers that have in the championship battle have got good experience of doing very well around this circuit. Obviously, Jake and Nico Longuet, they've won the WOR Championship on the PC. Thomas Ronhaar hasn't yet, so obviously he's very experienced. He's won other championships. He's, as you've seen on his Twitter this week, he's been, you know, winning real-life karting events. He's even been going on the Xbox platform in what I said was a bit of a Valtteri Bottas to whom it may concern moment, and just trying to break every single world record on the Xbox to go with the majority that he has on the PC, just to show that he's, you know, he has obviously got some immense talent. So yeah, they're all just enjoying themselves. I'd say the pressure is off, in a way, I think, for Longuet. For Benham and Ronhaar, they'll try and be as calm as possible, but they want to get that victory, obviously. They want to end F1 22 on as big of a high as possible, and winning the race and winning the championship certainly would be the best way to do it. But I think if you end up finishing 10th and winning the championship, they're not going to complain too much.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Nicholas Longuet, he's not going to be feeling any pressure at all. As you said, Luke, he is just going to be going hell for leather, I think, overtaking everyone, seeing if he can win this race. And definitely, you know, he has the pace for it. I believe he's won, 2 races this season? He's one of the only repeat victors so far. And if he were to take victory this evening, he would win the championship. He would win the championship outright, of course, if Benham and Ronhaar don't finish in the points-paying position. So Longuet, he does have an opportunity to take victory around here. And I think in these outside circumstances, he can make some very entertaining racing action. But as you said, Jake Benham and Thomas Ronhaar, they've got a lot more pressure riding on them. They can't really put a foot wrong, because even finishing just 1 place behind their rival, that's going to put them, you know, in 2nd place in the title, and the other one is going to be seeing glory at the end of it all. We've got 36 laps around here, but of course we need to get into qualifying first, which, Luke, finally we're getting underway.
So we're finally on our way into qualifying, and it's going to be the penalties as well. That's going to have a big part to play. So we were speaking earlier on that There are some old school parts of this circuit. So turn number 4 and 5, I think especially, and then 6, 7, and 8. You've got the gravel there. If you make a slight mistake, you're going off, and getting a track limits warning is probably going to be the least of your concerns. Compare that to turn number 1, you're going to see a few invalidations there. Turn number 3 as well, and I think also 9 and 10. Very tricky corners to get it right, especially in this qualifying session. If you get it wrong coming out of turn number 10, of course, that is your next lap ruin. So that is going to be something to watch out for in qualifying. And I think, of course, soon what we're going to have to watch out for in qualifying is everyone sticking on a set of the intermediate tyres. Not because of the weather. As you can see, it is bright blue sky here at the Red Bull Ring.
A little bit of cloud coverage up ahead, but I don't think that should be too much of an issue. We are expecting everyone to come up very soon on the intermediates. Although, Luke, I've noticed in recent weeks of league racing, no one's really been coming out as much. Everyone's just sort of waited in the pit lane until the 10-minute mark anyways. We only see a few drivers actually exit the pit lane on a set of the intermediates, where if it was at the beginning of the season or in season 13, they would be coming out pretty much for the entire 8-minute stretch on that set of the intermediates. So as we tick down the clock, 17 minutes left to go here. No one is yet to exit the pit lane, and I don't even see anyone on a set of the intermediates in the pit lane.
No, everyone is everybody's really taking their time at the moment, aren't they? And waiting as long as possible. I mean, someone is saying rain in the chat, so we're hearing rumours that the Austrian weather might have that little bit of a sting in the tail. So yeah, looking forward to seeing that later on, which again, that could completely change the strategy. If we are going to get some rain towards the end of the race, we see drivers start on the hard tyres anyway now. That is pretty much the go-to strategy, hard to medium tyre. If we're going to get some rain towards the end, you can see drivers just trying to hang out pretty much the entire race distance on a set of hard tyres. We saw a few try that at Mexico, and it kind of backfired quite dramatically, of course, with drivers getting punctures towards the end. But it is very quiet out on track at the moment, so I think we'll just take this opportunity to hear from our sponsors at the Williams Esports Lounge.
Welcome back trackside, everyone, here in Austria for Q1. We've got just over 15 minutes left to go, and we're yet to see anyone come out on the circuit. However, I do see in the pit lane that Andrei Tarabukin in the McLaren this evening. He has fitted a set of the intermediates. However, see some activity down at the Williams garage. Is that going to be Jack West? Indeed it is. Interestingly enough, Luke, on a set of the soft compound of tyre. We never see this. 15 minutes left to go in this session. We're already seeing a slick run. I mean, it's unheard of in World Online Racing, but on his outlap, it does give us a good opportunity to have a look at this circuit, and it really is just a classic Formula One Grand Prix track. There's not a lot of runoff, especially in that second sector. It's really only into turns 1 and turn 3 that you actually have proper runoff, and in that third sector as well. But there's plenty of gravel traps for the drivers to get caught in, and that means this track can be very unforgiving if you make a mistake. But Jack West is going to take it nice and tidy on his outlap. We'll see what he can do as he heads down in towards Schloss Gold. And we see Primoz Michalčič also come out for Aston Martin. So finally, we're getting some action out on track.
Yeah, and what I do love about this circuit is how heavily undulated it is. So we saw, obviously, in towards turn 3, very uphill. You can afford to brake a bit later. Complete opposite for turn number 4. You brake 5 metres too late, you're headed downhill. You're not gonna slow the car down as much. Yes, you've got more weight going on the front of the car, so you might even get a tiny little bit of rear locking. But you're going to be heading straight into that gravel and losing absolute chunks of time. And of course, very interesting pit lane entry here to watch out for in the race. But Jack West about to take us around, first man out on track.
Here he is then, headed up towards turn number 1 of Castrol Edge or Lauda. There's 2 different names for it. Choose as you like. It's nice and tight through here, but very fast off the exit of the corner, on towards this straight in towards turns number 2 and 3. Turn number 2, not really a corner at all, but headed in towards turn number 3 at Remus. It's a very tight corner, and I think the nature of it means we could see a lot of collisions. Heavy braking into there and getting a nice run downhill in towards Schloss Gold. It's a nice gentle dip as he just rises over the crest in towards this braking zone. As it is downhill, we could see a lot of drivers locking up through here. It's imperative to keep the car balanced for a good exit in towards turn number 5 and 6, where you're dancing on a knife's edge through here because ever so slightly too wide, and you're into the gravel. And Jack West spinning the car through there. I mean, he just got in the power. It looked like a little bit too early, and maybe he planted his foot down. I'm not too sure what has gone on there for the Williams, but his lap completely in the bin, and now he's doing donuts on the circuit. Almost a perfect pirouette. I'll give that a 7.5 out of 10. Hopefully he gets out of the way for Primoz Michalczyk, who is on his lap time, but Jack West already not going too well in qualifying.
No, not ideal for him. I think, again, he was maybe going for the Ismael Fassi strat from Mexico of just sticking no wings on the car, which is brilliant in a straight line. Probably not the fastest for qualifying, as we are seeing here. And yeah, definitely going to cause a few problems. Running out of tyres later on in the race, but Michalczyk, he heads around the final corner towards the finish line. What's it going to be for the Aston Martin man? 104.543 for Primoz Michalczyk. Not a bad run whatsoever for a first effort. Cameron Dowds, he's now heading around turns number 7 and 8. And I do find it is a tricky corner, turn number 8. It is easy just to catch that curb a little too much and A, invalidate your lap, B, send the car spinning around, but maybe possibly even all the way over to the left-hand side. I've seen a few cars do that as Dowd's a tiny bit wide there. I think he's just about got away with it, though, and does go fastest of everyone on a 104.276. You've got to be aggressive on the curbs around this circuit, but you can just see those yellow sausage curbs on the inside. Go too aggressive, you're hopping over them, invalidating your lap time, and possibly spinning off towards the wall.
Yeah, we were talking about this before the stream. With that runoff area, it is very tricky to get that one perfectly right, and there is those big yellow sausage curbs that you would have to go over to get back onto the circuit. So running too deep at turn number 1, whilst it is possible to do and get away with it without too much, I'm losing my words here, but without anything really going wrong in your race. Too much trouble, I suppose, as Jack West spins his way around the lap and almost into the pit lane. As oh dear, it's not really gone well for him. I saw him spinning once again on his second run. Jack West, I'm not too sure what's going on for him. He's maybe not fighting for anything, having a little bit of fun. But Luke, one thing I'm interested in is that because we've seen no drivers coming out on a set of the intermediates this early, as Jack West retires in the pit lane now, because we've seen no one come out on the set of the intermediates, I wonder, are we going to see some rain in this race?
Well, I've seen a few people in the chat say that there is rain forecast for the race. Not too sure whether it's coming towards the beginning or the end. Xander Van Dijken also retires from the session, so that's 2 names you can pretty much guarantee will be heading out of Q1, which makes it a bit easier for the others. Last time we saw Benham and Ronhaar decide not to take part. I wonder whether today we're going to see similar from them, or whether they are, of course, going to decide to try and obviously qualify as high up the grid as possible, which would be the ideal strategy. Generally, Formula 1 is a bit easier to overtake than it used to be, especially around this circuit with the DRS. We've now got one of the Mercedes heading out of the pit lane. Alessio De Capua is heading out there onto the circuit with 10 minutes to go. This is a bit more normal, of course, for the times for drivers to start heading out onto the pit lane and setting flying laps. And being Austria, they might actually be able to leave it a tiny bit later.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, this is a very short circuit. It's it's the quickest circuit, but it isn't actually the shortest in terms of actual track length. I think it's pretty similar to the likes of Mexico, and maybe Mexico's a little bit longer. I'm not too sure, but of course, Monaco is the slowest lap along the grid. This is the slowest one. Sorry, I'm losing my words. I'm getting too excited at the prospect of this championship fight, but of course, this is the quickest lap around through here, so drivers can go as late as possible on their out laps. We could maybe see drivers exiting the pit lane at 1:30, getting out and starting their lap right as the clock strikes 0. Alessio De Capua liking to going very early here. Luke, I'm noticing in the live chat there's a little bit of a hashtag going on through here. Of course, your final race in WOR, and in commentary on the F1 game for good, and hopefully this one tonight is going to be very exciting for you.
Yeah, hopefully it's a very exciting. I think it's a very exciting race. It's been a bit of a dull qualifying session so far, but we're used to this, aren't we, for the first half of Q1? Not a lot really happened. As Alessio De Capua getting a little bit of a toe off one of the McLarens then. Not too much wrong with that. Up towards turn number 3. Nice and steady from Alessio, who we have seen before. He can, on his day, mix it with the best of them. Just seems to be a bit too inconsistent now, and maybe one or two too many penalties probably costing him and probably really stopping him getting there right up towards the top level. And that, yeah, again, just coming out of turn number 4, just losing the car completely, overcorrecting and in towards the barrier, gets away with only damage to his front wing, but that's another car just seemingly losing it on traction.
Yeah, and he can't clean up those tyres and can't go once again because of that wing damage. So Alessio Di Capua is going to be losing critical time that he needs to get out of this Q1 session. Maybe the pressure's off ever so slightly due to the fact that Jack West has retired without a representative lap time and Xander Van Dyken not going for a lap at all in this session. But with Alessio Di Capua in and his lap in ruins, that leaves Andrei Tarabukin to be the first one to get us underway as he takes a nice slow run through turn number 9, gets the power down as early as possible, climbing uphill in towards turn number 1 at Lauda, keeping it in 4th and immediately shifting into 5th, get the power down as early as possible whilst doing that, and then on towards the longest straight along this circuit, headed in towards turn number 3, reaching speeds of excess up to 197 miles per hour at the braking zone. Nice run off the exit of turn number 3, and then once again opening up the DRS. It's 3 back-to-back DRS zones for the drivers to utilise down these straights and potentially have some fantastic battles that last almost the entirety of the lap. Off the exit of turn number 4, where we could see some action side by side, heading in towards turn number 5 and then turn 6 at the Worth curve. Not too much to say about this track, but you do get a lovely view from the driver's point of view in towards the paddock section through turn number 7 and in towards 8. A little correction from Andrei Tarabukin shouldn't affect his lap too much, but in towards now turns number 9 and 10. First it is Jochen Rindt, and then in towards the final corner at Red Bull Mobile. At the exit we'll see what Andrei Tarabukin, as he comes up towards the line, it's going to be quickest of them all by 16 thousandths of a second. 1 minute 4.260 from him, immediately beaten by Nicolas Longuet as they inch closer to the 1 minute 3s.
Yeah, the times are starting to come in thick and fast now. We'll see what Thomas Ronhaar can do. Jake Benham, he's just about to start his flying lap, one of the last drivers to be doing so. So Longuet, Tarabukin, Dowds, Koya, Miklavcic, Marquis, Parnell, those that have set, representative lap time. Well, actually, no, Parnell's not really a representative lap time either on that 109.148 at the moment. Let's see what Ronhaar can do. Can he become the first man to get into the 103s as Danny Beresde puts himself into second for now? Istvan Pukki slotting in just behind Tarabukin. Fassi in third. Being such a short circuit, is anyone going to feel really safe in this qualifying session, or is everyone going to want to head out there for a second lap? We'll have to wait and see what's Ronhaar going to do as he slings the car in towards turn number 10. Again, just about keeping it valid. Ronhaar towards the line. Fastest, but still not into the 103s. 104.021 for the championship leader.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a million miles ahead of anyone else in this session. Nicolas Longuet just 600ths off the back of the Dutchman, and 2 championship rivals heading into this one. We'll see where Jake Benham can nestle his Mercedes as he heads in towards the final corner. Of course, this time last week, as oh dear, as he invalidates off the exit of turn number 9 in towards turn 10. We'll see what this time would have been for Jake Benham. It would have been good enough for not P1. He would have, well, I think P3 with a 1 minute 4.133, I believe that time was. That would have put him in 3rd position. And Luke, we could have had, with 5 minutes left to go in Q1, all of our championship contenders in the top 3, but with 5 minutes now, we have the bottom 5 settled at the minute, none of them with lap times on the board. Xander Van Dyken has retired, but we are yet to see attempts from Jake Benham, Alessio Di Capua, Ben Chabacogni and Modesto Mena, so the pressure really is on for that bottom 4 to get out of this session.
Yeah, Modesto Mena was on a quick lap, just got it wrong coming out of the final corner. Azika Baena slots himself in towards second place, 2,000ths behind Thomas Ronhaar. And of course, outside of these championship contenders, you've got the likes of Baena and Beresde in the Alfa Romeos. Fassi's up there. Istvan Pukki's been very consistent, arguably. I mean, looking at the championship, he is the best non-esports driver in the league. Has certainly shown some improvement. So there's a lot of fast drivers who've got really nothing to play for, but just want to end the season on a high. So they're going to be fun ones to watch for the remaining of qualifying and this race. Jake Benham brings it back towards the pit lane, down in 17th. He's got plenty of time should he need it, but this is certainly not ideal for him. Longuet retiring from the session there on that 104.085. Wait and see whether there's Ronhaar following. We'll wait and see whether Baena follows. Not as close as we'd have expected so far. I think that's just because a lot of drivers haven't really managed to get clean laps in.
Yeah, I think once they get a feel for this circuit in the conditions that they are in, of course, in WOR this evening and in the pressure environment, I do think that these guys are going to be able to tune in maybe in towards Q2 Possibly, though, we could see some big names exiting this qualifying session. The likes of Dylan Warren, Jake Benham, Alessio Capua, sort of they spark inspiration. You know, they should be towards the top of the order, but Dylan Warren with a 1 minute 13. You know, that is not an incredible time at all from him. We do need to see him in the next session, as Andrei Tarabukin already has come out for his out lap, but I believe further along on his lap is Bence Jabokoni, another man who's going to be certainly feeling a lot of pressure, of course, in that drop zone at the minute. He would not want to be out of qualifying this early as he heads in towards turns number 9 and 10 at Rint, and in towards Red Bull Mobile. Takes a very slow line through there, power down. As soon as he hits the exit of the corner, he'll get this lap underway, headed up towards turn number 1 at Lauda.
Yeah, we'll see what Jabokoni can do then. At the moment, just setting a quick valid lap time is going to be good enough to get you through, so no real cut-off for these drivers to work through. And being such a short track, there's always that little bit of danger that you are going to get caught up in some traffic. 16.045, very good first sector from Jabokoni. Only a couple of hundredths what we saw Thomas Ronhaar do earlier on his fastest lap, as there's still those cars up ahead of him. Hopefully they're looking in the mirrors. Hopefully they're going to get out of the way. That McLaren just about doing so, but Jabokoni missing the apex there by about 20-30 centimetres. Little margins are going to be costly. Well, we'll see what he does as he comes now in towards turn number 6 and 7. This is really where you start putting a lot of pressure on that front right tyre, so can lose lots of time when it comes to the race once you're starting to get your tyres a little bit more worn on a circuit which generally is more known for wearing out the rears, especially with the traction zones out of 1, 3 and 4. In towards the final corner now, Bence Jabokoni. Is it going to be good enough to get him through to the next part of qualifying? 9th place for now. Not sure how confident I'd be feeling on that. But although you can see his teammate Pookie and Cameron Downs just ahead of him, they are feeling comfortable on that 104.2 range.
I think it's going to be touch and go for Bence Jabokoni as to whether he gets into this next session. I believe it is going to rest on the fact that some guys might not be able to get a clean lap in. I'm trying to find who is furthest up on a lap at the moment. Is it one of the Mercedes of Alessio Capua? He's invalidated on his attempt. Is Jake Benham? I don't believe he might actually be on a push lap here as he's in that second sector. We'll see what he can do. 44.5 through there. He's purple in at sector 2 according to the minimap. Jake Benham in that drop zone at the minute with 1 minute left to go in this session. Can he get a nice run through here? He validated last time by at turn number 9. No such issue this time off the exit of the final corner, opening up the DRS and spearing towards the line. Here comes Jake Benham and he nestles himself into P3, and I think that should be good enough to get himself into the next session. Well, actually it is good enough because he's got more than 5 retirements behind him. Very nice effort from Jake Benham as more drivers come through the final parts of their lap. I think Liam Parnell in the drop zone is on a push lap and he is improving by a little bit. Only 13th for the time being. Might not be good enough to get himself into Q2 as here comes Daniel Koya in the second sector, improving marginally in the first part of the lap, improving by just under 1/10 of a second in sector 2. We'll see what he can do then off the exit of turn number 8, getting the uphill run in towards turn number 9, which will immediately shaft you downhill in towards the final slope of turn number 9 and 10. Very tricky to get it right on the exit of this corner, but Daniel Koya has taken that very nicely indeed. The clock has struck 0, no new laps can be completed, and Daniel Koya gets himself safe into the next session with a P10 attempt. Up next to the line, it will be Modesto Mena in the Ferrari without a lap time on the board at the minute. We'll see what he can do. Can he get himself out of the bottom 5? As here he comes now, coming up towards the line. Modesto Mena, only P15. He only needs one driver to beat him, and then he will be out of this session. That rests on Harlan Marquez or Alessio Di Capua. Speaking of Harlan Marquez, I believe he's in the final sector now, but he is retiring from this one, coming back into the pit lane. What about Di Capua? He's not even got a front wing, so I think that is his fate going to be sealed in qualifying, because he rides over the bump, gets some airtime heading in towards the pit lane. Di Capua will be starting last, and he is eliminated from qualifying. And Luke, that brings us to the end of Q1.
It does. If I was Di Capua, I'd have been tempted to finish that lap. He'd have beat Van Dijken and might not have been too far, despite not having a front wing, might not have been too far off beating Jack West in the end. And obviously, 18th has got to be better than 20th. It was touch and go for Jake Benham for a second there. We did wonder whether he was going to make it through, but in the end, fairly comfortable. And look how close it was. All 3 championship contenders separated by 64 thousandths of a second. Ronhaar and Longuet managing obviously to only get through on one run. That could put them in very good stead when it comes to Q3, which will be starting obviously just over 15 minutes time. But in Q1, all the main championship contenders through. Let's see if they can get safely into the top 10.
You should expect so with the level that these guys have been racing at in recent weeks. They've been right at the sharp end of the field pretty much the entire year, but you can see we expected a close qualifying. That's exactly what we're getting so far. Thomas Ronhaar topping Q1 with only one attempt on the board. He beats out Uppbeat by just 0.02 of a second. Jake Benham in third alongside Nicholas Longuet in fourth, and Danny Barishne with a solid attempt puts himself in P5. Ismail Fassi sixth, and rounding out the top 10 is Tarabukin, Hardy, Pookie and Koya. Just about surviving in this session. Outside of the top 10 is Cameron Dowd, Zabro Konyi, Dylan Moran, Liam Parnell and Modesto Mena. Then we lose from this session Harlan Marquez, Primoz Miklavčić, Jack West, Sander van Dijken and Alessio Di. That brings us to the end of what was a very exciting Q1, a little bit low-key due to the fact that we already knew that Jack West and Sander van Dijken weren't going to be getting out of this session, but still there was plenty of surprises. And I think one of the big names going out here is Primoz Miklavčić. He's sometimes struggled for consistency in WOR, but we never really see him going out this early. So I think seeing him out this in Q1 has a big shock.
Yeah, I mean, he ended up retiring from the session out on track. I think what had happened is he'd invalidated his laps, realised they weren't going to be good enough, and just ended up binning it into the wall. But yeah, Miklavčić probably won't be too happy with that one. De Capua didn't really get to see too much of what he could do. He was another driver who just made too many mistakes when it really mattered in that qualifying session. So he is out, so they get to have a nice little break now. But for the top 15 drivers, 15 minutes to go in Q2, of course. We'll be seeing drivers heading out, I imagine, pretty early on that used set of tyres, and it certainly looks like we have got some movement there in the Haas garage. I think Thomas Ronhaar is just going to get a couple of laps done out there on the circuit, and also see further down the pit lane, we've got an Alfa Romeo heading out there. I think that's Uppbeat, Tycho Hardy trying to head out. They're all coming out onto the track, but these laps will not count. Well, they'll count obviously as valid lap times, but these aren't going to be the ones that get them through into the top 10.
It's so funny the contrast that we see in Q1 when no one comes out for over half of the session, and then all of a sudden, or almost half of the session, 8 minutes we don't see drivers for, and then 10 minutes to go they all exit the pit lane. But then in Q2 everyone instantaneously exiting the pit lane, and Thomas Ronhaar is the first by quite some margin. Of course, Haas being right down at the end of the pit lane. Thomas Ronhaar's got priority in that regard. We'll see what he can do. Of course, as you mentioned, this will be on a scrub set of the tyres, and it's just to get a delta time on the board because, Luke, we bring this up every single week. It does give you that little bit of a psychological advantage knowing that you are ever so slightly improving on your previous best. It can give you that little bit of confidence that you need to improve on your run.
It's not, yeah, and it's also about just making sure that you don't over-push yourself. If you set an absolute blinder on your first lap, you'll come out onto your second one knowing that the track's in a better condition. You might have even put a tiny bit less fuel in for your second one and thinking, I should be going faster here, and you can just push that tiny little bit too hard and ruining your laps completely. So just obviously they've done plenty of laps. This is not really to get a feel for the circuit. Like you said, it is just to set that delta time. And even coming through the first sector, I mean, it was a 16.0 from Thomas Ronhaar through there earlier. In fact, looking at that, he's actually heading a tiny bit quicker. I mean, it's a very simple first sector here, but we'll see what this lap's like for the rest of the lap for Ronhaar.
Absolutely, as he heads down in towards turn number 4 at Schloss Gold. Very easy to lock up through here, and of course right off the exit at the corner there's no runoff at all. It's just that you're met with gravel, and of course we've seen that be an issue for the likes of Jack West and Alessio De Capua so far. No such issues for Thomas Ronhaar as he heads his way in towards turn number 7. Very interesting corner that is, of course. It actually cuts you more up towards the uphill section, and getting a good exit through there is vital because you have the run down in towards turn number 9 and 10 into the final slope. Little bit of a bump on the exit, which the drivers can make a mistake if they negotiate it wrong. And here comes Ronhaar to the line with a 1:04.054. And we said that these were all going to be on scrub sets of tyres. If that is the case for Thomas Ronhaar, what a lap from him.
I don't think that can be the case, can it, for Thomas Ronhaar? No. Surely that's got to be a fresh set of tyres. I mean, Nicholas Longuet was 3/10 slower. That was with a tiny little mistake as well, coming through the final part of the circuit. So we'll wait and see for him. Modesto Mena, he's had a much bigger mistake in the Ferrari, and is now just having to make his own circuit to get his way back to the pit lane, and needs to be very careful here that he doesn't get disqualified from the session because he was going the wrong way down the pit lane. That's been a couple of laps now we've seen Mena get things wrong through the final corner. I've got to believe that's a fresh set of tyres for Thomas Ronhaar, and he's just gone all out at the start of this session. And you know what? who can really blame him for doing so? It looks like Danny Bavejde, he's also on a fairly rapid lap time at the moment in the Alfa Romeo, so this could be one to watch.
Yep, headed in the second sector. Danny Bavejde's got a little bit of traffic up ahead. Hopefully they get out of the way of him, but in towards now sector 3. Relatively simple part of this track, but of course you can very much invalidate off the exit of turn number 9. Very wide line in through here. Keep it in 6th gear, then immediately slam down on the power. Off the exit now, turn number 10. There's a big sausage curve in the middle of that apex, and Danny Bavejde comes to the line. It's 1 minute 4.478, so I do believe that's a scrub set of tyres from Danny Bavejde. However, that is still a very nice attempt indeed from him. So at the end of the first runs of Q2, Thomas Ronhaar miles ahead of everyone else with a 1 minute 4.054. I do believe that that is on a fresh set of the tyres. And Luke, I wonder, is that going to be enough to get him into the next session?
Oh, it's going to be close, but I wouldn't be comfortable. Let's put it that way. I certainly wouldn't be comfortable. You're going to expect to see 103s, I think, towards the end of this qualifying session. 103.9s, I'd say almost certainly. 103.8s, possibly. Any faster than that would be absolutely incredible. Yeah, it could be fast enough, but I wouldn't want to be sitting there for the next 11 or so minutes just waiting to see if that's going to be the case. I think we'll be seeing Ronhaar back out onto the circuit once again. Someone who's going for a slightly different run plan than everyone else at the moment is Cameron Dowds, and he's also done a sub-16-second first sector. So this could be a very good job by young Mr. Dowds. We'll wait and follow him for the rest of the lap. Heading downhill now in towards turn number 4. Braking roughly where you've got the Marshall board on the left-hand side. Nice and steady. Not too much throttle on the curb. In fact, there's your answer. You saw at the bottom of the screen, Thomas Ronhaar's retired from the session. He does think that time's going to be good enough. We don't... I mean, I was going to say we don't see that too often. I can't remember seeing anyone retire from Q2 this early on, unless it's been a weather-affected session.
No, I mean, we saw that earlier on in the season. I think it was Portugal. We pretty much speed ran qualifying, but Thomas Ronhaar, he's taken it into his own hands this evening for the speed run. He's going to have to wait an extra 10 minutes as Cameron Dowds to the line at 1 minute 4.184. That would have been good enough for around about P5 last session by. So I'd imagine this is going to be round about the drop zone in Q2. So it's a decent attempt for a bank of time, especially since there's not really all that much rubber still on the circuit. We've not had too much running from these guys in Q2. More drivers now exiting the pit lane on their out laps, one of them being Ismail Fassi, the other one being Nicolas Longuet in the Ferrari. Very interested to see what he can do on this attempt. I wonder if he's going to have the confidence of Thomas Ronhaar to retire from the pit lane as soon as his lap is over. We'll have to wait and see, but here he is now on his out lap. He's going to have a lot of clear track in front of him, and he shouldn't, hopefully, run into the gaggle of cars that is just exiting the pit lane now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Longuet, Ronhaar's been the king of qualifying. I don't think there's any real surprise about that. Longuet, he's been the closest challenger, I'd say, out of the top 3 championship contenders. Benham's probably the one with the weakest qualifying, but he's more than made up for it in the races. So we'll wait and see what Longuet does. I wouldn't be surprised if he's... I'd be shocked if he's not on a 104.0, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes a bit quicker than that and maybe even beats Ronhaar on this lap. So we'll have to wait and see what the Ferrari man can do. Just gearing up for his lap now. He has got a clear track in front of him. He has got pretty much exactly what he wants. 8 minutes to go in this session. Longuet going for his first real run in anger in Q2.
Here is then off the exit of turn number 1, ever so slightly using the curve off the exit of that corner, but he pitched that perfectly because he didn't get onto the sausage curves. Now headed in towards turn number 3. He's going to use the curve on the entry to get the widest run into what is a very tight corner. Off the exit now, utilising all the track possible, opening up the DRS. He goes underneath the Aramco gantry, heading now down in towards Slosh Gold, braking just after the 100-meter board. Very unforgiving off the exit of turn number 4. Nicolas Longuet, oh so close to the gravel off the exit there, but he's just about survived. He's really dancing on a knife's edge as he goes along this lap through now turns number 6 and 7. Very imperative to get a nice run off the exit through here. Nicolas Longuet looking very tidy on his attempt. He's been maximum commitment, I'd say, all the way through. Longuet, wouldn't be surprised if we see him right at the top of the order. Is he going to reap the rewards of his efforts? We'll have to wait and see. Opening up the DRS now, headed up towards the line. And it is indeed the first 1 minute 3 of the day from Nicolas Longuet. And immediately beaten out by Ismail Fassi. And as more cars come through the final sector, start to get a little bit worried for Thomas Ronhaar, Luke.
Yeah, I think he might have just gone a bit too early there. Tycho Hardy, he's made a mistake on his lap, so we're not going to see anything from him. Dylan Warren heading into the final corners now with his teammate just ahead of him. We'll see what the McLavens can do. Tarabukin stays in 9th place. He must have invalidated. Dylan Warren up towards 5th. I think Longuet could have got a 103.8, to be perfectly honest. Did make a slight mistake coming out of turn number 4, which possibly did cost him half a tenth of a second. So yeah, could have been up there with Ismail Fassi. Ika Bayena's up there again. Jake Benham has shot himself ahead of Thomas Ronhaar. Yeah, down into 5th already. We'll see how confident Ronhaar is going to be feeling, because there's a lot of quick drivers to go. There's one of them. Danny Bavejde can't get ahead of the championship leader. So 6th for the Hungarian winner, of course, of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix earlier on in the season. Liam Parnell, he's invalidated on his lap time. Modesto Mena just making his way round turn number 3 now. He's the last driver that is yet to set a lap. It is Koya, Tarabukin, Hardy, Parnell, Mena in the drop zone at the moment. We are seeing some very quick times here, and it is going to be a nervous 5 minutes, 37 seconds remaining in this session for Thomas Ronhaar.
And this could have massive implications on the championship fight, as I believe Tycho Hardy's just come across the line with a 1 minute 4.1. That was on a already used set of tyres. Modesto Mena with a big snap off the exit of turn number 7 into 8. He's going to have to come into the pit lane at the end of this lap. But Thomas Ronhaar, Luke, not going to be feeling all that confident at the minute. He's got the likes of Danny Berjne and Istvan Pukki, the 2 Hungarians, within striking distance right behind him. Just 300 separating those 3 drivers. Tycho Hardy, with a fresh set of tyres, he's probably going to be able to beat that 1 minute 4 from Ronhaar. So it is definitely going to be worrying if you are the Dutchman. But with just under 5 minutes left to go, we're going to have this qualifying session grinded to a halt as drivers come back into the pit lane. Ismail Fassi and Nicolas Longuet feel safe on their times. I'm inclined to agree with them. A 1 minute 3.902 from Ismail Fassi. An incredible attempt from him. Really does contrast to how he was last time out in qualifying. He's not even touched a set of the hard compound of tyres, and now he's going to be having a nice cup of tea in the garage. But Luke, I'm very excited to see the end of this session.
So am I. I think we're all excited to see what's happened. If Ronhaar makes it through, he's going to look like a genius. If he gets knocked out, he's going to look like the complete opposite. He's made it a nervous end to the session for himself. really no reason. Yeah, he could have just sat in the pit lane and waited until the final runs, a bit like what Cameron Dowds is doing, obviously having set a slower time, but we're expected to see some sort of improvement from him. 104.206 is the cut-off time at the moment. 1.5 tenths slower than what Ronhaar's done. That is, you only have to gain 1.5 hundredths through every single corner. Yeah, we've already spoke about how some of them aren't really corners around here, but given the track evolution, given the fact that we've seen multiple drivers, I mean, Tarabukin, Parnell, Mena, not get clean laps that time around, and Tycho Hardy not get a clean lap on his first lap. Cameron Dowds didn't do a run in that little group. Yeah, it is nervous times for Thomas Ronhaar, and again, Benchesabo Conye, he's down in the drop zone at the moment, but he's going to be the first man out in this session, giving himself plenty of time in case he makes a mistake on this first run. I get a feeling it's going to be getting pretty busy out there on circuit at the moment. Interestingly, Jake Benham deciding not to retire from the session at the moment on that 104.013, still just waiting it out in the pits.
I think that's a smart thing to do. Of course, he's not that far ahead of Thomas Ronhaar. He could still potentially be out of this session if he's not confident that a 1 minute 4 flat is good enough to get out of Q1. Maybe it is best just to test the waters on a fresh set of the tyres, because at the end of the day, he's going to be kicking himself if he goes out in 11th position like Thomas Ronhaar might be doing in this session. So we'll just have to wait and see what Jake Benham decides to do, but I do think it is the smart move to at least, you know, keep your options open at this point in the session as Ben Zabakoni takes the run up towards turn number 1. I think, Luke, that Zabakoni, he is one of the stronger qualifiers on the grid. I definitely think he is better in qualifying than he is in the race. And this is another driver that we could see potentially just about pip Thomas Ronhaar for his time and potentially send him closer to the drop zone. At the end of the first sector, he's up by only 100th of a second, so it's not a massive improvement. But of course, in sector 2, it's very technical through here. There's lots of corners, lots of braking zones to make up your time, but already he's not happy with his first attempt. He's already backed off on this lap.
Yeah, I was going to say, coming into turn number 3, it didn't look too tidy, to be honest, from the Hungarian, but it looked a lot tidier than what we've just seen from Tarabukin coming through turn 1, completely sideways. There might be no gravel in that runoff area at turn number 1, but the yellow sausage curb nearly claiming a permanent victim there with Andrei Tarabukin almost spearing off towards the wall. A lot of drivers finding it quite hard at the moment to make sure that they are getting some nice and clean laps in. We'll see what Cameron Dowds is about to do. He's just setting onto a lap now. Tycho Hardy in 8th position at the moment, 7 thousandths up as he comes through the first sector point. We're not seeing massive time gains, but Sector 1 is all about your exit out of turn number 10 and the first corner. Sector 2 is where you're going to see the masses of time gained, if anywhere. We'll see what the Alpine can do from there. You'd expect him to gain a bit, of course, because he set his fastest time earlier on the second lap on that set of soft tyres. But given the mistakes we're seeing, Ronhaar's probably a bit more relaxed than he was earlier. And Jake Benham, he's decided to just sit and wait it out, not bothering going in, as Tycho Hardy was improving. Clearly thinks he can do better next time around.
Yeah, but I think with that improvement, he would have been ahead of Thomas Ronhaar. Maybe just not confident as Modesto Mena leaves this session. That is going to be him out of qualifying. I think he's having some sort of PC issues. We've got one driver coming through the final few corners. That is Dylan Warren in the McLaren, a driver who's got a lot of history with Thomas Ronhaar. Imagine the scenes if he were to be the one to eliminate him, but invalidating on his lap. That is going to put him in a very bad position. He was already down by 0.5 of a second, as we'll see who is up next to come across the line. One of the Alpha Tauris, that's Ben Jabrakoni, up by 0.2 of a second. We'll see what he can do, is now off the exit of the final corner. It's looking very nice and tidy indeed from the Hungarian's point of view. Here he comes across the line. He's lost a lot in that final sector. Only goes P10. He eliminates Dylan Warren, I believe, by 1,000th of a second. Got an Alfa Romeo up towards the line next. That's Danny Berejnay again, invalid on their attempt. And all of a sudden, Thomas Ronhaar looks like he could be safe in this session. Daniel Coy has come across the line to go in P5. That should solidify his position in the next session. It's Van Pookie up next towards the line. Where's he going to put his Alpha Tauri? Only P7 on the exact same lap time as Thomas Ronhaar. Andrei Tarabukin up next towards the line in his McLaren. He goes P8, safe for the time being. There's still plenty of drivers on a lap behind him. Liam Parnell will be the next one up to come across the line. He's up by 0.4 of a second, but he is already on a 1 minute 4.7. So it's not a world beater from Liam Parnell at the moment. And he validates out the final corner. That will leave the Alpine of Tycho Hardy across the line. He does improve and jumps ahead of Thomas Ronhaar. Up next will be Cameron Dowds towards the line in his Williams. Where can he place this car? He's in the drop zone for the time being, but he is improving on his previous best lap. DRS wide open as he comes across the line, and it's P9 for him. Danny Berejnay in that drop zone, Luke. He isn't pushing on a lap. He is going to be out of this session. Jabrakoni also not pushing. Dylan Warren's retired in the pit lane, and they'll be eliminated alongside Liam Parnell and Modesto Mena.
21 thousandths of a second is what Ronhaar survived by. That's also what Istvan Pookie survived by, and it's also what Cameron Dowds survived by in the end. 3 drivers there, all setting the same time, and in the end, it looked fairly comfortable for Thomas Ronhaar. So many drivers making mistakes. I mean, Danny Berejnay, we know he's one of the quickest qualifiers in this game, down in 11th place, so didn't get a clean run on that final one, invalidating out of turn number 10. Dylan Warren also invalidated out of turn number 10. He's down in 13th. Modesto Mena had problems. Liam Parnell invalidated out of turn number 10. That could have been a lot more awkward for Thomas Ronhaar than it ended up being. In the end, made it through quite nicely. Ismail Fassi fastest, Benham in second. Nicholas Longuet in 3rd place. All the main championship contenders as well. So that's Benham included alongside Longuet and Ronhaar. They're all going to have 2 sets of fresh tyres for Q3. So it's going to be a straight fight between those guys.
I'm just seeing in the live chat from Jona Martins, Thomas Ronhaar's lap time apparently on a used set of the tyres. There's no way that's possible from him. A 1 minute 4 flat when everyone else around him needs multiple attempts on a fresh set of the tyres to do a time similar to that. I mean, that is incredible stuff from him. But look at how close this qualifying session is, Luke. Ismail Fassi, Ikabayana, Nicholas Longuet, all on the 1 minute 3.9. And then look at how many drivers on a 1 minute 4 flat. All the way from 4th down to 11th. We see times in the 1 minute 4 zeros. That is incredible to see. And there is 3 lap times exactly the same. Thomas Ronhaar, Istvan Pookie, and Cameron Dowds all setting a 1 minute 4.054. But the 5 eliminated drivers from this session, Danny Berejnay, Ben Jabrakoni, Dylan Warren, Liam Parnell, and Modesto Mena, was certainly a very exciting end to Q2. And Luke, this is a good sign indicating that Q3 is going to be even spicier.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, if Thomas Ronhaar's somehow done that on a used set of tyres, being such a short circuit, they've got enough time to do 3 runs in Q3, never mind 2. And we have seen a few times from Ronhaar. He has made those slight little mistakes in Q3, and he's had to leave it right until the last minute. And more often than not, he gets it right. right at the last minute. But yeah, into the top 10 shootout, our 3 championship contenders are still in there. We've got some very quick drivers. I mean, Baena's looked fast in both sessions. His compatriot, Ismael Fasti, was the fastest of everyone in that session. So, you could see a Spanish cat amongst the pigeons here when it comes to taking pole position.
Yeah, absolutely. Ismael Fassi, incredible stuff that we've seen from him so far in qualifying. The same goes for Ikabayana as well. The Spaniards really seem to enjoy this circuit, maybe carrying on the efforts of Alvaro Caraton, of course, eliminated from championship contention last time out. That leaves us with just 3 drivers heading into this one at the beginning of Q3. Already we're seeing some action out on circuit. And Luke, I want to draw some parallels from WOR to real life Formula One. Final race, the championship battle goes to. They've been trading positions all season long. It's an Englishman or a British driver and a Dutchman. They're level on points. I mean, I can't think what this reminds me of.
I mean, we can guarantee we're not going to have a safety car coming at a random point on the final lap of the race when some of the lap cars are still left out on the circuit. But yeah, there's quite a few similarities there. We'll wait and see. We'll wait and see how it ends. We'll wait and see if we've got any teammates pulling fantastic defensive jobs. Because let's not forget, of course, of Sergio Perez really holding up Lewis Hamilton and doing an absolutely sterling job. Will we see any of the teammates do that tonight? Van Dijken and De Capua starting a bit further down the grid. Likewise, Modesto Mena for Nicolas Longuet. I'm not sure the teammates are going to be able to help them out too much, but we have got Ismael Fassi out on the circuit at the moment. 10.5 minutes remaining. He's going to be the first man to set a time in Q3. This could, though, still be on a used set of tyres.
Here he is then up towards turn number 1. They do look a little bit worn from the onboard point, but we'll see what his sector times are looking like as he takes a nice little run out of turn number 1, headed up towards turn 2 and 3. Turn 2, not really a corner at all, then it's heavy braking in towards this next right-hander, the tightest corner along this circuit, and the exit pretty much blind until you reach the apex. Now keeping it tight-knit to the right-hand side, he'll drift over to the left to get the optimal run in towards turn number 4 at Schloss Gold, where I think we're going to see the brunt of the overtakes at the end of the 3 back-to-back DRS zones, as now off the exit and in towards the technical sector 2. Double left-hander made by Ismael Fassi. Be careful not to run too wide off the exit. Very unforgiving this circuit can be with all the gravel traps right near the circuit, and Ismael Fassi in spectacular fashion saving the car off the exit of turn number 8, but that is going to put a swift end to his lap. We'll come back into the pit lane. He'll be lucky that he didn't spin that one off and possibly get in the way of any other cars behind him, but it is Ikabayana also slowing it down, coming back into the pit lane. It seems like at the beginning of this session, Luke, not many drivers are wanting to set laps.
Yeah, I mean, they're not really feeling the pressures to set any laps at the moment. Cameron Dowd's heading towards the finish line. What's it going to be from him? 104.4. That is a used set of tyres. Thomas Ronhaar, this is looking pretty fresh, this pace lap time at the moment. So we'll see what Ronhaar can do. Is it a 103? 103.773. There is no doubt whatsoever. That is a fresh set of tyres. And that is the fastest time we've seen all day. That is a statement from the Dutchman and the championship leader. Beat that if you can, Mr. Longuet and Mr. Benham.
Yeah, and if anyone says that is on a scrub set of tyres, I will not be hearing your arguments there. There's no way that this is not a fresh set of the tyres from Thomas Ronhaar. Fantastic lap time coming out from him there. And now the ball falls into the court side of Nicolas Longuet and Jake Benham to respond. Longuet is out on circuit at the minute on his out lap. Jake Benham just exiting the pit lane now. We'll see how these guys respond. They'll have seen that at the top of their screens, and I'd imagine there'll be some surprise reaction from them, because that's a very difficult time to beat. I mean, that has beaten the Q2 top time by almost 0.2 of a second already. I think it's about a 10.5 the time that Ismael Fassi set in Q2. So incredible stuff from Ronhaar. But now, Luke, here comes Nicolas Longuet. We'll see how he responds.
Yeah, the Frenchman's been fantastic in qualifying so far this season. What can he do in the Ferrari? Making his way around turn 1, nice and tidy so far. Swinging it over to the right-hand side of the track, trying to straighten up that turn number 2 as much as possible. Scrub off as little speed as possible. 15.851. Very tidy sector 1 for the Frenchman. In towards turn number 3 there. Maybe just a bit too much over to the inside on the way in there, if we are being extremely picky. But there's a reason why these are driving. And I am commentating here. Braking just after that 100-metre board. In towards turn number 4. Quite a bit tidier than what we saw earlier on from him in Q2. But still not ideal. Still getting a bit of a wheel spin as he exited turn number 4, which just ruins your run in towards 5 and 6. We'll see what he's doing here. 44.304 is a very handy time, though, through the first 2 sectors. This could challenge Ronhaar. This could beat Thomas Ronhaar. And this could leave Jake Benham needing to set an absolute miracle lap if he wants a chance of taking pole position here around the final corner. What is it going to be for Nicholas Longuet in the Ferrari? 103.749. Fastest by 24 thousandths of a second. Jake Benham, he's not even pushing on this lap. He's going for a second warm-up.
Oh, I mean, I've got an ear-to-ear grin on my face at the minute, Luke, because incredible stuff from Nicholas Longuet. We thought Thomas Ronhaar's lap was out of this world. Longuet immediately responds with his attempt. Incredible stuff from him. Tarabukin comes to the line, but that's not a representative time whatsoever from him. We'll see the rest of the runners on their push laps now as Tycho Hardy is the next up to come through the final 2 corners now off the exit of turn number 10 at Red Bull Mobile. We'll see what he can do as it's P5 for the time being, a 1 minute 4.571. It's Van Pookie joins Longuet and Ronhaar in the 1 minute 3s with a 1 minute 3.936. I believe that's the quickest time that he has done all day. We know that Jake Benham not on a representative lap time at the minute. He comes across the line with a 1 minute 10.7. Ikabayana will be next one up to cross the line. Look, a decent attempt from him. He's not too far off the back of Thomas Ronhaar and Nicholas Longuet, about a 10th off of the pair of them, so very nice effort from him. Ismail Fassi gets even closer to striking distance between the pair of them. Here comes Thomas Ronhaar up to the line next. Can he beat out Nicholas Longuet once again? He comes across the line. I think the little visual glitch in the spectator camera saying that he was on an out lap. He's actually on a push lap now. Thomas Ronhaar getting his run underway, Luke. Will have to follow Jake Benham, surely.
Yeah, Jake Benham, not the best first sector, though. He's already a 10th down off what we saw from Longuet and Ronhaar earlier on, which could put him in and around this Van Pookie range with just how close things are looking at the moment. Coming through sector 2, what is it now from Benham? Yeah, he's still about a 10th of a second down, so this isn't going to be a time that challenges for pole position. Big side coming out of turn number 7. We'll see whether Benham decides to pull it into the pits or whether he is just more likely going to carry on. But I think anything higher than the second row of the grid is going to be an absolute miracle here for Jake Benham. Heads towards the finish line. What's it going to be? There you go. In the end, it is 5th position for him. Thomas Ronhaar, he's found an extra 10th of a second out of somewhere, but has invalidated his lap time in doing so.
He had the improvement in the second sector as well, so surely that invalidation must have come out of turn at number 7. That's definitely going to dampen his spirits ever so slightly, but he has enough time. He's actually going to go once again. I think he might have done this earlier on in the lap. He's somehow he's got a full battery in that Haas, so he's going to have slightly worn tyres, but Thomas Ronhaar's going to go once again on this set. We'll see what he can do then off the exit of turn at number 1. 4 minutes and 20 seconds left to go in this session. Surely this is going to be close to his final attempt. He'll have to cool it down, and he's not going to have enough time, but already improving by 0.5 of a second in that first sector where it's essentially just one corner. That's incredible stuff from Thomas Ronhaar. We'll see what he can do as he now takes towards the corner of Schloss Golda. Downhill right-hander. Very slow speed through here, but not daring to go lower than 4th on the curbs off the exit, utilising all of the track possible. It's very wide in this second sector. Now the double lefts of turn number 5 and 6. Actually, I believe it's 6 and 7, almost improving by a 10th of a second. Now it's looking very nice indeed from Thomas Ronhaar. He's going to have to go maximum commitment through the final 2 corners of Rindt and Red Bull Mobile, as now here he comes, turn number 9, make sure not to invalidate off the exit, in towards 10, here he goes now, opening up the DRS, spearing towards the line. What is it going to be from Thomas Ronhaar? A 1 minute 3.639 from him. He's ahead of Nicholas Longuet by just over a 10th of a second, but surely, Luke, he's not going to have an opportunity to come back into the pit lane and set another lap time. So is this his final attempt in quali?
It's going to be close. He's going to get to the pit lane with about 2 minutes, 10 seconds remaining. Pretty quick turnaround possible. I think he is going to have enough time, and you can see he's pushing on this in lap. He's going to have just enough time, I think, to set another lap time. Longuet is coming back out onto the circuit. Fassi and Baena are out there now, and we're starting to see some of the others coming out for their final runs in this qualifying session as well, including Jake Benham, who down in 5th place at the moment, his main championship rival, currently 4 places, and around a track like this, nearly 0.3 of a second is a huge gap to have in 1 lap pace. But Jake will not be panicking at the moment. I think he knows sector 1, big opportunities for improvement. Only needs to find 0.04 of a second to move himself onto that second row of the grid. Of course, the track is going to be improving every single lap, every single second, with more cars getting out there. Ika Baena just trying to build some temperature into those tyres. We're yet to see the best. Tawabukin, Dowds, Koya and Hardy. Who's to say they're not going to be able to spoil the party for some of these a bit higher up the order and get themselves involved. Ronhaar is back into the pit lane with 2 minutes remaining. I think we'll be seeing him out on circuit again.
It is going to definitely be touch and go as to whether he gets around in time, but we'll keep an eye on him. He's still getting that car serviced, and that looks a little bit less likely that he'll get his car turned around. But here is Nicholas Longuet beginning his laps. He heads up towards turn number 1, using all the curbs on the entry, then just about grazing the yellow sausage curbs on the exit. Very nice run indeed from him as he opens up the DRS, taking the run uphill towards turn number 2 and 3. We'll see what his improvement is. He's down ever so slightly on his previous best, but not to worry because he can improve in sector 2 and 3, and this is looking like his last attempt in qualifying. If he did back off, Nicholas Longuet could go once again, but I do believe, Luke, he is going to be pushing hell for leather on this lap to try and snatch pole position from the hands of Thomas Ronhaar as now he heads in towards sector 2. Ikabaena getting out of the way very nicely indeed. He is backed off on his lap, as I do believe the same applies for Tarabukin and Isfan Pookie is now in towards sector 3. Nicholas Longuet improving by almost a tenth of a second. This is similar scenes to what we saw from Thomas Ronhaar as here he comes now in towards turn number 9 and 10. What can Nicholas Longuet do off the exit of the final corner? Foot planted to the floor is now opening up the DRS towards the line. Longuet comes across, but he lost time in that final sector. A 1 minute 3.713 from him. That is not going to be enough to beat Thomas Ronhaar in this one.
Yeah, it was just coming out of turn number 7 and 8. We saw the little snap. He barely had to lift off the throttle, if he lifted at all. But just that lack of momentum did cost him. Otherwise, he'd have been right up there in the 103.6s. Whether he'd beat Ronhaar or not, I'm not so sure. But with how close some of the other drivers are doing, we're going to have to wait and see. Ronhaar is out on circuit, and with 2 corners to go and 15 seconds remaining, he is going to be last car across the line in this session. Let's keep an eye, though, on what Jake Benham is doing. He's in 5th place. He's got a bit of pressure on him at the moment. 14 thousandths up already as he comes through sector 1. Still, though, nearly a tenth of a second down on what we've been seeing from Ronhaar and Longuet through there. He's just not got the pace on 1 lap round here at the moment. He'll be hoping he can find some time in the final couple of sectors to beat Fassi and Baena, but they're going to be looking for improvements as well.
Yeah, Jake Benham, he needs to be on the second row of the grid as Andrei Tarabukin finds himself in P5 ahead of Jake Benham, and Isfan Pookie comes across the line to go into P4. Jake Benham now up by almost a tenth and a half. Ikabaena has come across the line to go P4 and onto the second row of the grid. Ismail Fassi in the final corners as well. Jake Benham approaching turns number 9 and 10. Ismail Fassi able to jump Nicholas Longuet by 4 thousandths of a second. Here comes Jake Benham. He spins off the exit of the final corner. Maybe, just maybe, the pressure has got to him. He is out of this session. P7 at best for him. Thomas Ronhaar now through the final 2 corners. What can he do as he's overtaking Jake Benham, who's spun off to the side? Ronhaar to the line. A 1 minute 3.5 from him. He improves by 800ths of a second. No one can contest him at the end of this session. Incredible stuff from him. He's ahead of anyone else by just a tenth and a half. Incredible scenes in Q3, and the advantage swings the way of the Dutch.
Yeah, it's it's not quite game, set and match at the moment, of course. It's only qualifying, but when you're 6 places ahead of your nearest championship rival, you've qualified on pole position. Your second fastest lap would have been good enough for pole position. You've got to be feeling pretty confident it is going to be a tough old 36-lap race for Jake Benham in 7th. Nicholas Longuet can still win the championship, of course. He's starting in 3rd. Well, we'll wait and see what's going to happen because we are expecting some wet weather in the race, of course. But that is an incredible margin. 1.5 tenths of a second on a track like this. Just, yeah, astounding.
Yeah, the grid is relatively more spread out than what we saw in Q2. It was a lot more tight-knit at the end of that session, but it seems like everyone is just spread out through here. Thomas Ronhaar on pole alongside Ismail Fassi, who's looked to have pace all day long. Longuet and Baena on row 2. Pookie and Tarabukin on row 3, row 4 for Benham and Koya. Then rounding out the top 10, Tycho Hardy and Cameron Downs. But Luke, that brings us to the end of qualifying. We now turn our attention to the 36 laps of Austria. It's certainly going to be an exciting one here.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, we've seen a few drivers make mistakes there. I think obviously the biggest one, Jake Benham, there having that big spin out of the final corner. Would have been good enough. Put him probably 4th or 5th, but we'll wait and see what is going to happen. Quick reminder of the track map once again. 4.318 kilometres, 2.683 miles, 10 turns with the 3 DRS zones, which ideally you'll be able to use after lap number 2. But Dan, you're not using any DRS in the first few laps of this race.
No, as it is raining down here in Austria. And Luke, you did mention this at the start of the stream. It is not averse to weather effects, and we're going to have a intermediate start to this race. It doesn't look heavy enough for wet. I don't see any standing water along the circuit, but now certainly this is going to throw a spanner in the works. Luke, with 15 seconds before the race start, who's taking victory?
I mean, I don't think you can look away from him just because of how dominant he was in qualifying. I want to go for a more interesting choice, but I think Ronhaar's just looking too good today.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to wait and see then. As last season in Abu Dhabi, Thomas Ronhaar lost the title due to a steward's inquiry. Here he now starts on pole position with 5 red lights in Austria. We are go for the final time in this season. And Ismail Fassi with a fantastic start on Thomas Ronhaar, headed up towards turn number 1. Fassi's going to take the lead. The Red Bull now slots into P1. There's cars off the circuit, an Alfa Romeo and an Alfa Tauri. Nicolas Longuet trying to find his way through on Thomas Ronhaar, headed up towards turn 2 and 3. There could be 3 abreast at the braking zone at Remus. Ismail Fassi defending to the inside. Longuet now looks towards the left-hand side of Thomas Ronhaar, who's dropping down places on the first lap of this race. Jake Benham already up into P5. Is now side by side between Longuet and Ronhaar, a battle that we've seen so many times throughout the course of this season. And in towards the corner, contact between the pair of them. Ronhaar looks up the inside in towards Schloss Gold. Ikabayana trying to find a way through, but at the end of sector 1, headed in towards sector 2, Longuet trying to go once again up the inside. He'll get ahead of Thomas Ronhaar, and Ronhaar from pole position down into 3rd.
He's going to be down into 4th here because Bayena's got a fantastic run coming through there. Thomas Ronhaar very steady on this first lap, but it's almost like he's treating it like a formation lap here. He's just held on from Baena. In fact, no, he hasn't. Down the inside goes for Spaniard. What a move! Ika Baena, that's not an overtaking opportunity. And Jake Benham's having a go at Thomas Ronhaar here. There were 6 places between these. Let's not forget, and if Benham gets ahead of Ronhaar, he leads for championship. Has Thomas Ronhaar got damage from tapping the back of Ismail Fassi? Because he is really struggling out here.
Oh my word, my heart is thumping at the minute. As here comes Thomas Ronhaar up on the run up towards turn number 2 and 3. He's looking back up the inside of Ikabayana. Can he make this move? Stick up the inside, slight bit of contact, nose to tail between the pair of them. He's finally found his way through. He gets back into the podium places and he puts a car in between himself and his championship rival. Daniel Koya trying to make up a position on Andrei Tarabukin just behind on lap number 2 despite the wet weather coming into play. We've seen plenty of battles already and this is shaping up to be the most dramatic title finale surely in the PC Tier 1 scene that we've seen since its inception all the way back in, I believe, season 11, as I think all these guys now, Luke, going to start to settle into a rhythm. It's been a dream start. Ismail Fassi getting ahead of Thomas Ronhaar in towards turn number 1. Nicolas Longuet had to fight a lot harder than Fassi did, but he found his way into P2. Thomas Ronhaar, what seems to be so far a nightmare start.
Yeah, not an ideal start whatsoever. I mean, at one bit it looked like it was going to be a whole lot worse for him. I thought he had some damage. Honestly, the way he got overtaken by Ika Baena, he got absolutely mugged coming into turn number 9 on lap number 1. Seems to have settled down now. I think he'd just, running offline a few times had slowed him down. So things just seem to have settled into a bit more of a rhythm. No DRS, of course. We've got battling in the lap time between the 2 Hungarians. Istvan Pukki trying to go round the outside of the Alfa Romeo of Danny Beresde. Not quite able to make it work there, but he will get better traction out of the corner on the outside on the run down towards turn number 4. Is he going to be able to make this work? Beresde slams on the brakes in the way that only Danny Beresde can. Just about holding on to that place for now. Everyone's still very close together, and touch wood, it has been a clean start. You don't always see that in Austria at turn 1, 3 and 4 on the first lap to the race, particularly when we have got some wet weather, but it has been some great racing so far. And of course, as I say that, we've got a spinner. That is Sander van Dijken off at turn number 7.
Oh, we got VSC for that one. There's no yellow blip in the pit lane for the safety car coming out. So the race essentially going to be neutralized at this point. And now the drivers have to think about sticking to that delta and then prioritizing a good restart. Really does grind everything to a halt. Let's get our bearings in order. But what a start we have seen in this one. We've still got so much of this race left to go. Alessia de Capra and Primoz Klavjic also coming into the pit lane, interestingly enough. I wonder if there was contact between the pair of them. Xander Van Dyken retiring now, as we should hopefully very soon get back within the green flag conditions. Ismail Fassi leading the way from Longuet. Thomas Ronhaar in third, and I think Jake Benham, he's certainly going to be viewing Ikabayana as a bit of a Petrov in front of him. He needs to get by on the Alfa Romeo as soon as possible, as now there we are, green flag racing once again. It seems like Nicholas Longuet, Luke, he's got the jump on Fassi.
Yeah, just had a bit of a better restart there. It wouldn't surprise me if we see a full safety car soon, because Primoz Miklavčić just come out on a set of medium tyres, and he's going to have absolutely no grip whatsoever on them. A very interesting strategy there for the Aston Martin driver. It's just settled down now. The VSC ending at a good enough time for Fassi that he could get away with things. No one really close enough to take advantage. Obviously, there's that little bit of a guessing game with the Delta. You ideally want to be, 2, 3, perhaps even 4 temps like slower than what the game allows you to do, to then speed up when it says the VSC's ending. And if you time it just right, you can be going up full speed and flying past 3 cars around you. You get it wrong, you get a drive-through penalty, which for 1 hour Benham is probably going to be curtains for their championship chances. I think Longuet's going to have to just start going for this soon. It is early stages. Drivers will be thinking, can we no-stop this race? We've seen it happen before on a set of intermediate tyres. We don't know what the weather is going to be like for the full race, of course, whether we are going to be seeing drivers head out there later on a set of dries, whether it be softs, mediums or hards, whether the rain's going to get heavier even. Certainly doesn't look like it is doing so at the moment, but I think for Nicholas Longuet, just wants to get into the lead and see if he can control the race somehow. He knows it's an exceptionally slim chance of him winning the championship. It's a 0 chance if he's not leading the race. As further down the field, Tycho Hardy moves his way past Jack West. That is Hardy into 11th. It's been a good start from Jack West. He's gained 6 places. He had a good start at Mexico last time out. That was partly due to the tyre differential. No such thing here.
He's been very strong at the beginning of this race. He's got ahead of his teammate for this evening, Cameron Dowd as well, which I think is going to be very critical in the pit stop phase. And Luke, at the moment, just thinking about the weather conditions, we saw Primoz Miklavčić come out on a set of the mediums, and of course, there is no way that this track is dry enough for the mediums or any of the slick tyres whatsoever. But the rain does seem to be lightening up ever so slightly, and possibly in the next maybe 10 laps or so, we could see some dry running. We'll have to wait and see, though, as fastest laps being traded throughout all of the drivers. Who is holding it at the minute? Not that it really has any bearing on the championship, but it is Thomas Ronhaar, quickest of them all by about 1/10 of a second. So
sorry to interrupt, Dan. We've complimented Jack West. He's got it completely wrong into turn number 3, straight into the back of Tycho Hardy, and misses part of his front wing. So, yeah, just getting a bit caught out there was Mr. West. Like you said, fastest lap does have no bearing on the championship. It is a nice thing to have, but there's no points for it here in WOR.
Oh dear, and Tycho Hardy's lost a number of places. Jack West is losing every spot that he gained up on the first few laps, and all of his hard work has been undone. I wouldn't be surprised if that is another DNF that we see this evening. A lot of guys making mistakes in the wet so far. We've seen plenty of incidents at this point in the race, but at the front end of the order, Luke, looked relatively clean. Alessio De Capua already with a 3-second time penalty to his name, and I wonder, are the penalties going to be an issue in these wet weather conditions? It could be a little bit more difficult to get to grips with this circuit as the safety cars come out. I'm not too sure what that's for. Jack West has retired. Is that out on circuit? Has Jack West retired on track somewhere along the way? I'm not too sure what's happened, but we have the safety car.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see there where Jack West has crashed. But yeah, I think it must have been out onto circuit somewhere. We have got a safety car, but it's been cleared away very quickly indeed. Now, do you take advantage of the safety car? Maybe if you think the rain's going to last quite a bit longer, do you take advantage of the safety car, come in for a set of intermediate tyres, knowing that you could very possibly get towards the end of the race on that set of intermediates? And yeah, retired just before he got to the pits. I wonder if he's just understeered completely with no front wing and crashed into the pit wall on the outside, which he's a very quick driver, Jack West, but the fact that I'm going to say that's not the first time he's done it this season is probably not really a record you want to be having. But intermediate tyres for everyone at the moment. Are we going to see anyone dive into the pit lane? No one looking like they are at the moment. Just to me that the rain might be expected to stop in the not too distant future, but we've got a safety car at the end of lap number 7, and in fact someone is coming into the pits. That is Istvan Pukki. Surely, with the rain still falling, this has got to be for a set of intermediate tyres, because even if it's stopped now, by the time it's you know, by the time the safety car comes in, I don't think it is going to be dry enough for a set of slicks, and it is intermediates for Pookie.
Fair enough from him, and I think Jabo Konyi, Harlem Marquis, Modesto Mena and the sorts are also all going to be fitting another set of the Inters. And Luke, was it Jeddah, if I remember correctly, where Jack West crashed into the pit lane? I believe that was in qualifying. That is actually what gave Matthijs van Erven a time penalty, not a time penalty, a grid penalty. But now he's done it here in Austria, and yeah, I'm pretty sure you're right about him just understeering into the barriers, and I'd say that's a bit of a rookie error from Jack West, and I guess he is still very young, so he's not got all that experience. You could possibly still class him as a rookie, but because of that, the safety car's been brought out. Now the field has been brought once again back together, but given how things were with everyone just following in a train, no DRS of course, this doesn't really change all that much in this race.
No, it doesn't. I mean, we've got the interesting features now of Pookie, Marquis, Jabo Konyi, Mena, and, well, no, not Miklevcic or De Capua, sorry. There you had that pit stop earlier on. Pookie's got the fresh set of tyres on. It's not going to make too much difference now, but I reckon in about 10 or 15 laps' time, if we're still seeing the rain falling, it is going to make a bit of a difference. And you might see him starting to work his way up the field. So that's going to be one thing to watch here. Safety car, I imagine, will be in next time around, even though Primoz Miklevcic has actually got quite a long way to go on this circuit. The longer it stays out, the less tyre wear that you're using, less fuel that you are using, of course. And I think Harlem Marquis is coming in here for another fresh set of the intermediate tyres. Realises he's not losing too many places, and 1 lap fresher tyres better than not having 1 lap fresher tyres. And what's it going to be? Oh, it's going to be a new front wing, actually, for Harlem Marquis. So I wonder if the game didn't change that front wing, or wasn't damaged enough to change, or has he damaged it under the safety car there? But a new fresh set of intermediate tyres going on for Harlem Marquis. It's helping everyone who wants to no stop. If anyone's under-fueled, it's going to be helping then. And you can see the red fuel light on Fass's car. It's going to be on Longuet's. It's going to be on pretty much everyone's car, I think, if we go down the field as well. You don't burn as much fuel in these wet conditions because you are a bit more hesitant, obviously, on the throttle. So this is helping them with that. Just means we should get a bit more of a pushy race now for the remaining 27 laps if we get green flag this time around, because still a bit of a gap between Miklevcic and Marquis and the rest of the field.
Yeah, and you can actually see on the telemetry, everyone, when they're going down the straights or if they're just on the throttle at any point, they're actually on the brakes ever so slightly, so they're not losing speed or dropping back from the car in front, but that is indeed to burn off some fuel. And as we cross into the final sector, I think we're going to have one more lap of safety car action here. We'll have to wait and see then as here we go, yeah, through the final corners. There's no way they can stack up the grid at this point, so we're going to have one more lap beneath safety car conditions, and I think that is due to the fact that Miklevcic and Harlem Marquis weren't in the train. I think the only driver that's actually helped out by this safety car is Primoz Miklevcic, because he's going to make a third pit stop in this one. He came in for a set of the mediums when it's still raining out on track, and it doesn't seem like it's getting lighter at all. I dare to not think that he's going for another set of the medium tires here as he comes into his box. It is going to be another set of inters for him, and it does help him out because he's back to the rest of the grid, but everyone else, no one really gains from here.
No, definitely not. The Aston Martin pit crew will have earned their Easter eggs by the end of the day, because Miklevcic is keeping them busy at the moment with that third spot. It is pretty much as you were, isn't it? Especially at the top of the order. It was only Pookie out of that lead group who decided to come into the pits, try something a little bit different, but probably not going to see too much advantage of it now. We're certainly hoping that the rain carries on a bit longer with that a similar intensity to what we have seen all race long. Now it's all going to be about who's going to get the restart right. Safety car in this lap. It was a great normal start by Ismail Fassi. It was a pretty bang average start by Thomas Ronhaar. Didn't really get the traction that he needed off the line and really dropped down the order. So we'll see if he's learnt the lesson from earlier on. If he hasn't, that could put Jake Benham right back into play.
Yeah, Ismail Fassi has the advantage. It is his discretion as to when and where they go. Of course, off the VSC restart, he didn't have the best run in comparison to Nicolas Longuet, who was able to get on the back of him ever so slightly. But of course, without any DRS or the ERS power being lessened in the wet weather conditions, he wasn't able to get on by. So we'll see what he can do off the restart. He's going to stack everyone up But Luke, once he goes, he has to go. If he puts his foot down now, then he can't stop once again. I think he's picked up the speed, and we are going to get going once again at the beginning of lap number 11. Ismail Fassi leading Nicolas Longuet. Thomas Ronhaar all over the rear of the Ferrari, headed up towards turn number 1. I think Longuet sort of been caught napping, and Jake Benham on the back of Ikabayan as they reach the apex of turn number 1. Ismail Fassi still leading from Longuet. Here comes Ronhaar though, headed up towards turn number 2 and 3 at Remus. We could see a dive bomb from the Dutchman, pushing pretty much in towards the corner. Nicolas Longuet defending to the inside line. Thomas Ronhaar has to go the long way round. Can he be off the circuit? Potentially he's caught on the curb through here. Ikabayan is now going to potentially have a run at him down in towards turn number 4 at Schloss Gold. Thomas Ronhaar gets on the battery off the exit, and he's going to be able to maintain P3. But Nicolas Longuet, it's hard, but it's fair racing from him as he stays in P2.
Ronhaar should have seen that one coming. It was obvious Longuet was going to defend for his life on the inside, and as soon as he tried to go all the way around the outside, he's just going to try and run you gently over that curb. So, putting himself in quite a risky situation there, Thomas Ronhaar, for very little reward. A reminder, all he has to do, well, all Ronhaar and Benham have to do is score more points than the other one to win the championship. Longuet needs to win the race and hope Ronhaar and Benham score no points whatsoever if he wants to win the championship. So it is still advantage Ronhaar at the moment. A very racy restart from him there, perhaps when he maybe didn't need to. Yes, obviously, had fantastic momentum, but I'm not quite sure that was the best place to decide to go for that move. Not too many changes, a few swaps for positions further down the field, but not too much changing this time around. Ismail Fassi, though, still getting a dream start, half a second ahead as they now head into turn number 3 for the 12th time.
Oh my word, my heart was in my mouth for a moment there. Jake Benham very late on the brakes, almost went right into the back of Ikabayan. He gave him a slight love tap with his front wing. Ikabayan made a very late defensive move to the inside, sort of caught Jake Benham by surprise. He went deep on the brakes and almost lost his front wing in the process, and that would have been surely game, set and match. Thomas Ronhaar, Ikabayan really being a thorn in Benham's side, and he's lost a lot of time now to the Spaniard up ahead, who's just defending with everything when he's not really gaining anything in this championship fight. And Jake Benham, he's certainly going to be annoyed at Ika in front of him, because he is just that one car gap that Thomas Ronhaar has got in between himself and his rival. And Jake Benham, he's going to be shouting in that cockpit, telling Ikabayan, get out of the way, but it's just not going to work as they head on towards lap number 13 of 36. We've still got loads of action left to go. We're just past the 1/3 mark in this race. Luke, already I think elbows out very early here. We could have fireworks at the end of this one.
Oh, we definitely could. The fireworks aren't going to be dampened by the weather here in the Austrian hills. Istvan Pukki got very close to the back of Tycho Hardy on the previous lap. It all started with Hardy trying to go a half-hearted move on Cameron Dowds, who sort of put in a half-hearted defence, and that just allowed them to drop a bit further back. We've seen Ben Shishabo Konye get ahead of Alessio De Capua, and also following through is going to be Modesto Maynard as well. Can he get past Fia AlphaTauri as well? Not on this occasion. So that is Shabo Konye up to 14th, Maynard up into 15th place, and still Hardy and Cameron Dowds are battling side by side. They're going through turn number 6 and 7 for the final championship point here. Dowds on the inside, Hardy all the way round the outside. Can he make that one work? Not quite yet. He is going to have the inside line for turn number 9, and I'm not sure there's a lot Dowds is going to be able to do about this. Down the inside goes Hardy. He is into 10th, but again, just costing themselves a lot of time.
Yeah, and Tycho Hardy is now 1 second off the back of Dylan Moore with not much battery to try and get close to him. Istvan Pukki on a fresh set of the intermediate tyres. He is able to just slip up the inside of Cameron Dowds. He's making a very nice charge up the field. He got ahead of Liam Parnell, I think, on the restart, and now he's ahead of Cameron Dowds. He's got Tycho Hardy in his crosshairs. He's actually having to defend from him as we look to the front of the order. Luke, Ismail Fassi got very close, Nicolas Longuet got very close to the back of Ismail Fassi. It was very touch and go for him, and it seems like the pair of them are actually beginning to stretch away ever so slightly from Thomas Ronhaar in behind. But I think that just the entire field beginning to spread out ever so slightly on lap number 14. I think we're going to finally have a little bit of time to breathe and get to grips with what we've actually seen in this race, because already on lap number 14 of 36, Luke, it has been one of the most enticing and exciting races we've seen all season.
Yeah, sometimes when you get a wet race, it's a bit more dull, but this has certainly not been the case. We've had all sorts of overtakes, we've had changes for the lead, we've had safety car earlier on, we've had a VSC as well, let's not forget. Who knows what we're going to get in the remaining 22 laps. It looks as though Fassi has just stretched out the gap a bit more, and you can see there, fastest lap of the race, 1:11.044 from the Spaniard. He's won a race in WOR before in the top tier. He's looking for another victory here today. Looking in a pretty good place at the moment. Longuet not close enough to really go for any moves or cause any trouble on this occasion. Ronhaar as well. He's dropped a bit further back. Baena and Benham, those rounding out the top 5. There's got a bit more of a gap there to Tarabukin and Koya, which could be important. Well, it's going to be important for the slipstream. Could be important later on if the DRS gets activated in this race. But we are still seeing the rain falling. But certainly at some parts of the circuit, doesn't look as hard, the rain, as it was earlier on here. Marquis and De Capua having their own little thorn battle here for 16th and 17th. We've already seen an Alpine battling over the final point. We're seeing one battling here for no points whatsoever. That's not going to stop though. Harlan Marquis up into 16th as he tries to stay on the back of that train of cars up ahead of him.
Oh, they're making contact for P16. I mean, if that is the level of battling we're going to have when we're so far down the order as Jake Benham comes into the pit lane. I'm noticing the rain is ever so slightly beginning to lighten up here. Could this be a set of the medium tyres? Indeed it is. Jake Benham going for a gamble here. It's going to be the slick tyres from him this early on. And Luke, I see this is just a Hail Mary move. He knows that it is going to be so difficult to get by Nico Baena and then fight it out with Thomas Ronhaar. He is going for broke here. It's going to be beating Thomas Ronhaar or nothing in this race.
Yeah, I think Jake Benham's put it all on red at the moment, and I'm not sure he's even on the right roulette table. It's nowhere near dry enough, surely, for the slick tyres at the moment. We'll change the time to the gap to the leader, 20.7 as he comes into the braking zone. The rain has stopped as he nearly slides his way straight on there at turn number 3. It is a bit of a gamble. He might have just gone a lap or two too early, Jake Benham. Has he cost himself a chance at winning this championship? Dowds and Parnell having the battle for 11th and 12th place at the moment. Dowds just seems to be struggling at this moment in time. If you see any rain out on the circuit, it's too early for a set of the medium tyres. Now, you might be thinking, how can drivers make that sort of mistake? These are top esports drivers. We're now seeing pretty much the entire field dive into the pits. Let's not forget, to make it a bit easier for them, they do sometimes turn down the graphic settings, so they can probably see less spray than what we can out there. Intermediate times are coming down, and the majority of the field has come into the pits, including championship leader Thomas Ronhaar. He's gone for a set of the mediums. Nicholas Longuet has gone for the hard tyres. Now, where's Jake Benham going to be in all this?
He's not going to be too far back, but he will have the warmer medium tyres. Has this gamble paid off for Jake Benham? He's kept net P4 in, net P, I think it's P5. Yeah, no, net P4 in this race. So he's on the back of these guys. He's lost a little bit of time, but with these medium tyres not being up to temperature, he's going to be able to slip on by on Ikabaena, who goes very deep into the corner with a bad exit through here. Jake Benham could be up a position. Nicholas Longuet having to defend possibly from Thomas Ronhaar as they meet. Slosh Gold. Benham with the send on Ikabaena. He's had enough of the Alfa Romeo in front of him. He'll shove him out wide onto the curbs, nearly into the gravel. Jake Benham is ahead, and this gamble, Luke, has paid out for him just about. He was so close to not having this position, and all of a sudden he's on the back of Thomas Ronhaar. He's still got the better temperature in his mediums. Could this be the move on lap number 18 of 36? Luke, we're nearing the halfway point in this Grand Prix. Jake Benham in towards turn number 10. He looked to the inside. Oh, the door was not open at all, and if he went for that send, he'd have been sent into a spin. Incredible stuff on lap number 18, of 36. I don't believe what I'm seeing here. Is now off the exit of turn number 3. He seems to have a worse off run than Ronhaar, but wow.
Yeah, wow indeed. I'm shocked that that strategy's actually worked. I thought it was way too wet out there on the circuit, but clearly around Austria, things drying out a bit quicker than they do at some of the other circuits on this game. I remember, I think it was the race last season at Miami. The rain had been stopped for a good 10 laps or so before it was drying off for a set of the slick tyres. Not on this occasion. In all of that, Ismail Fassi has retained the net lead of this race on the fresh medium tyres. We'll see how it's going to work out for Longuet here. He's decided to go for the hards. Him and De Capua, the odd ones out in the field. It's going to be a struggle for the first 10 laps or so on these tyres. Then they are going to come into their own. So if I was Thomas Ronhaar, I'd be wanting to get past Longuet sooner rather than later. Still not seen the DRS activated either, and if it was activated, you would have the top 11 all in one train at the moment. Anything is going to happen in the final half of this race. Ronhaar with the fastest lap. Can he make the most of these mediums and get past Nicholas Longuet as the fastest lap instantly swaps to Daniel Koya, and DRS has been enabled. And of course, Nicholas Longuet's got it as well.
I mean, Thomas Ronhaar, that would have been the opportune moment for DRS to be activated. As Nicholas Longuet almost into the back of Fassi. Thomas Ronhaar now going to try and slip on through off the exit of turn number 3. Oh my gosh, biblical scenes here in this race. In the second sector, I mean, Thomas Ronhaar, he goes deep on the brakes, Longuet even deeper, and they almost come to blows. Jake Benham now thrusted back into this fight. Nicholas Longuet, he's got to be driving the widest Ferrari in the world, because here comes Ronhaar in towards the second sector of turn number 6 and 7. He could potentially look to the inside of the next left-hander. All over the road, these guys are racing, and Jake Benham has the best seats in the house. If something happens between the pair of these guys, Luke, what could happen? I mean, Jake Benham, he could be winning this championship, and I do believe it is all going to be decided by Nicholas Longuet, who has a slide on through the final 2 corners. Drama, high drama on lap number 20, and all of this, it's just like last season actually. I think it was Ismail Fassi in the final race of the season, everyone behind him fighting it out, and he's able to slip up the road.
And Longuet's lost for DRS here, so this is going to be an opportunity for Thomas Ronhaar, and I think he needs to take it. Will it be into turn number 3? Or will it be into turn number 4? Longuet just Ronhaar, sits and waits, biding his time here. Which way are you going to go round turn number 4? We've seen many a move round the outside here, and I think it is going to have to be the long way round for Thomas Ronhaar. Ahead before the braking zone. Ronhaar up into second. That could be crucial when it comes into the championship. He's got a car between himself and Jake Benham. Tiny little slide in the final corners there for Nicholas Longuet. Definitely, I think it's cost himself a shot at this championship and might have inadvertently cost Jake Benham a shot at the title as well.
Yep, Jake Benham needs to get by on Nicholas Longuet as soon as possible. I'm still seeing spots of rain on the lens of Jake Benham's Mercedes. I'm not too sure if there is any rain still out on circuit. Seems like it's sort of just in that awkward crossover stage where no tyre really is optimal. As Ismail Fassi sets the fastest lap of the race. He's now almost a second and a half clear of anyone else in this race. Thomas Ronhaar now up into P2 ahead of Nicholas Longuet. Jake Benham is in 4th. Of course, Longuet, he will phase into this race towards the end of the Grand Prix, so if he can stick with these guys, he could still take the position headed in towards the last few laps. But for the time being, Thomas Ronhaar's medium tyres are in perfect working condition, are only 4 laps old at this point in the race. Jake Benham with a lap extra wear on them, it's not going to be too much of a difference, but it could be that difference maker in a championship or finishing in P2. But on lap number 21 of 36, we're nearing the 2/3 of the way through part of this race, where I think we've seen exciting stuff in this second third, but in the final third, surely, Luke, it is going to be incredible stuff.
Yeah, surely it is. I mean, crucially for Longuet, and I think crucially for Benham's championship chances as well, the Ferrari has stayed within DRS range of Thomas Ronhaar, which isn't normally too difficult to do around here because of just how many DRS zones that they are. If Longuet sort of stays in the gap that he is now, 6 or 7 tenths of a second, he's not going to be close enough, even with the 3 DRS zones, to make any overtakes. But he is going to stay close enough. He can just save a bit of ERS, just manage the tyres a tiny little bit. Doesn't have to manage the fuel load at the moment. And then 10 or so lap times when his tyres are going to be much better than the mediums, can start to go for it again. But Longuet, winning's not enough. To win the title, he needs Ronhaar and Benham to fail to finish this race. And barring some very questionable driving, there's nothing he can do to affect the races of Ronhaar and Benham at the moment. He's just going to hope for some misfortune for them and hope that he can stay close enough to Ismail Fassi, who's just having the race of his dreams at the moment. Pitted later than everyone else. He's got fresher tyres than any of his rivals. 1.4 seconds ahead. Looking very nice for the Spaniard at the moment, but still a long way to go in the final race of the season.
It's exactly the thing we saw last season in Abu Dhabi, where it was Ismail Fassi winning the race due to the fact that everyone else behind him just started scrapping. He was able to slip up the road. It seems like history is repeating itself like a ripple. Nicholas Longuet beginning to slip closer and closer to that 1 second deficit that he really does need to keep within to have DRS on Thomas Ronhaar. And of course, if Nicholas Longuet loses DRS, then that means Jake Benham is going to have a harder time of catching up to the back of the Haas, and everyone else is slowly going to slip back from the lead pairing. So we'll have to wait and see. But Longuet, if he's able to nurse these tires for a few more laps until the point that they are quicker than the mediums, he could be able to close within that 1 second window and possibly get in striking distance of taking back P2. And Luke, I'm fearing that as it looks like more likelier that Nicolas Longuet is not going to have the chance to win this championship as the laps tick down, surely desperation is going to creep in. We could see a clumsy move attempt possibly just to take the position. I don't know what's going to happen from this point onwards, but on lap number 23 of 36, still have plenty of racing left to go. Who knows what could happen?
I mean, we've seen Longuet make up his own track before in the final moments of league races on this game. Doing it around Austria, I'd say there's a few too many sausage curves and a few too many gravel traps for that to be anywhere near an advantageous strategy. And of course, you're going to get yourself plenty of time penalties in doing so. Still around 7/10 of a second behind Thomas Ronhaar, and it's not like Benham's hounding him at the moment. I think Jake's also playing a bit of a patient game here. He burned his battery completely trying to catch up to the back of these guys. He's done so. He's now at 84%. Nico Longuet at around 60%. Likewise for Thomas Ronhaar. So Benham has the ERS advantage. Seeing as one of the cars in front of him has got the DRS, that's pretty much the only advantage he's going to have, of course. Equal performance cars. Yes, maybe slight changes in the setups might make a bit of a difference. Or can make a very dramatic difference, in fact, in straight line speed. But normally, we're at the point of the game where the setups are sort of converged now and they aren't really too many wild differences. So that little bit more ERS could prove to be crucial in the final third of the race, as it looks like Ronhaar's just trying to push it a little bit more on this lap, but still 1.6 seconds off the back of Ismail Fassi. Doesn't need to get himself distracted trying to catch up to Fassi. The last thing Ronhaar wants is to pick up a 3-second time penalty, because all of a sudden the championship pendulum swing towards Jake Benham.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have a quick look at the warnings that these guys have for the time being. Thomas Ronhaar has got one warning. He got that just a few laps ago. And I'll have a look at Jake Benham's as well. It doesn't seem like he has one. So if Thomas Ronhaar is forced into inopportune moments where Nicolas Longuet is applying the pressure, he could potentially take a 3-second time penalty. It's only Harlan Marquis and Alessio De Capua who have penalties so far in this Grand Prix. As through turn number 3 they go, Nicolas Longuet look to get close to the back of Ronhaar. It seems like we're in the crossover period where potentially the medium tyres are at similar pace to the hards, and Nicolas Longuet is going to have that advantage as the race gets on and on. Both of these tyres 8 laps old. The mediums will begin to dip in performance. The hards will have that longevity to go right to the end and keep with a relatively consistent pace. So who knows what can happen in this one, but I just fear for my nails that they're not going to be existing at the end of this Grand Prix, because this one really is turning out to be a nail biter. It seems like everyone just, every single move is going to paint the picture of what has been an incredible title fight here in WOR Season 14. And Luke, I just can't believe it's coming to an end. I want more of this one.
Yeah, this race could be a 100% race for what I wanted at the moment, because you just don't know which way it's going to go for the championship. For the race win, it's looking pretty safe at the moment in Ronhaar's hand, as we're seeing some moves further down the pack. Danny Beresne down the inside of Daniel Koya coming in towards turn number 3. Now it's just going to be a straight drag race between the two of them, and with the inside line and with his car slightly further ahead. That should be move done for Beresne. Still Koya tries to hang it around the outside. He's got a tiny little bit of an overlap, but he has to give up there. So that is Danny Beresne into 7th place. I was about to say, last lap around was the closest we've seen Longuet to the back of Ronhaar. I think our championship leader might have just made a tiny little bit of mistake on that gap, because the gap to Fassi has grown quite dramatically for one lap. The gap to Longuet has shrunk quite dramatically, probably into the range where Longuet could even think about an overtake if he wants to do so. 10 laps to go. Fassi leads, Ronhaar 2nd, Longuet 3rd, Benham in 4th. It's still advantage Ronhaar in the championship. That might change in the next 20 or so seconds.
Yeah, and of course, Nicolas Longuet is going to have 2 opportunities to go for the move. Here he is now in towards turn number 2 and 3. Thomas Ronhaar doesn't look to be fighting this one all too hard. Into the braking zone they go. Nicolas Longuet once again back up into P2. I think these hard tyres really phasing in nicely into this one, as Thomas Ronhaar does have the DRS on the back of the Ferrari car, but it is going to be futile. He can't make the move in towards turn number 4, and that just means that Thomas Ronhaar and Jake Benham are right next to each other in this title fight. This is not just for position in the race, it is for the championship. I can't wait to see how this one ends, but Nicolas Longuet has made a critical move on Thomas Ronhaar. However, due to the fact that he didn't even burn any of his battery to defend that one, I wonder if he just wants to save these tyres a little bit more, nurse them towards the end of this race by following in the wheel tracks of the car in front, and then maybe slip on by in the final few laps. We'll have to wait and see, but with 9 laps to go this time by, Ismail Fassi still leading, Longuet in second, Ronhaar third, Benham in fourth.
Yeah, I mean, the worst thing Ronhaar could have done, in that situation is probably fight the move, because he'd have just burned his tyres up for possibly no chance whatsoever to defend on the run down towards turn 4. So just decided to wait behind for now. You can see he's not really interested in going for the move here. Someone who might be interested for the move is Istvan Pukki. Very late move down the inside on Daniel Koya. Just about gets it stopped in time. A bit aggressive over the curb. And the big winner out of all of this might actually be Tycho Hardy, who's got some fantastic momentum. Going to get past Daniel Koya here. Can he send one down the inside of Istvan Pukki? 2 for 1 for Tycho Hardy. Too late on the brakes, though. And I think we're going to see Pukki and Koya fighting back with this one. And you see how much time it has lost them to the cars in front just by having that little battle. And that is why Ronhaar said, you know what, Nico? You take the move for now. I'll try and fight this later on.
Yep, absolutely. And if they were fighting too hard, then Jake Benham could have found an opportunity to get on through, like Tycho Hardy could have done. He was able to get by on Daniel Koya, but Istvan Pukki was able to slip on by. However, they've just about managed to creep within that 1 second window of Dylan Warren up ahead. I wonder, yeah, Istvan Pukki does actually have DRS on the car in front, which is Dylan Warren. A nice run up the order from him. He's up 5 places in this Grand Prix so far. He's the biggest mover of them all, so well done to Dylan Warren in this Grand Prix. Some other drivers with an impressive stat line so far is Danny Berejny, but potentially driver of the day Jake Benham up 3 places in this race. They might not be the most overtakes today, however, they've been the most critical for his championship charters. Cameron Dowds and Jabba having a scrap off the exit of turn number 3, headed down in towards Schloss Gold, and we could see a similar situation to what we saw last time by, because here comes Modesto Mena looking up the inside of the pair of them into the braking zone. They go. Jabba looks like he's just about going to stay ahead of Cameron Dowds and Modesto Mena, who fight side by side through turn number 5 into 6. It's Dowds on the inside, Modesto on the outside, and Mena is going to have to stay behind for the time being. But Luke on lap number 29 at 36, elbows well and truly are out here.
Yeah, and I think they could be coming out towards the front of the field. Longuet, he's pushing like crazy at the moment. He's burned up all of his battery. He's just trying to get onto the back of Ismail Fassi at the moment, and that would really make things quite interesting. In doing so, he's dragging Ronhaar with him. Benham's dropped a bit further back at the moment, so even if Ronhaar and Longuet do start fighting, Benham's not going to be barring a major incident too close to really take advantage of this one. What it does mean, of course, Ronhaar's got the DRS, and he's got so much more ERS than the Ferrari as well. Is he close enough to go for a move in towards turn number 4? Not on this occasion. Decides to just stay back for now. Bit of a gamble there from the Frenchman from Longuet. He knows he needs to win this race. He's burnt all of his ERS. I think it's probably going to be game over for him now. He tries to take the victory. The interesting question, is Ronhaar going to sit behind Longuet, or is he going to decide to go for the move? Because, of course, if the Ferrari is too slow, that's bringing Benham back into play.
Jake Benham not too far off the rear of Thomas Ronhaar at the minute. We've got yellow flags in Sector 2. That's Alessio de Capua going slowly. I don't believe he's got any damage. I think he's just had a spin out of turn number 4, so it shouldn't bring out any VSC or safety car. We're going to continue racing on towards lap number 31 of 36. We're edging nearer and nearer, Luke, towards the end of this race and the end of this season. And the title picture has become no clearer. Thomas Ronhaar at the minute is your PC Tier 1 champion this season. Jake Benham, though, he is still very close behind, and if he makes that move and he gets onto the podium ahead of Thomas Ronhaar, Jake Benham will be a 2-time PC champion. Thomas Ronhaar yet to win his first. Alessio de Capua into the pit lane, retires from this session, and that leaves us with just 17 runners left in this race. And McLavgic, I think he's having some internet issues. He leaves the session.
Yeah, we'll wait and see what happens with de Capua's car, because it is likely to come out on track, and where it does so, could give Fassi DRS, could end up giving Longuet DRS. I think in the end he's going to be well clear of those two, so thankfully it isn't going to have too much of an effect, and we'll see that AI car pull over to the right hand side shortly. 5 and a bit laps to go then Fassi, he's looked comfortable all race long. As long as he doesn't get a penalty, he's going to be fine. It looks like Longuet's just, shot his bolt a little too early here. Won't be able to challenge the Red Bull. It's all about Ronhaar and Benham. And Benham had that fantastic start to the race. He got alongside on the run out of turn number 10, let's not forget, on lap number 1. That's the closest he's really got to fighting anyone in the last few laps. Can he somehow pull anything out of the bag? Close that 7/10 of a second gap, with Ronhaar also having DRS and quite a lot of ERS. I think it's going to be a very tough ask indeed, and perhaps Benham might start looking in his mirrors a bit more soon, because Ika Baena starting to look very close to the back of that Mercedes.
Yeah, Jake Benham beginning to slip away from Thomas Ronhaar and Nicolas Longuet in front. I wonder how the personal relationship between Nicolas Longuet and Thomas Ronhaar actually comes into effect here, because Nicolas Longuet could have the most dramatic impact of them all on Ronhaar's championship charge, and who knows what is going to happen. It's not all sunshine and rainbows between the pair of them. We'll just hope that they keep their personal biases aside, heading in towards the last 4 laps of this race. Ismail Fassi looks untouchable at the minute, and I think unless Nicolas Longuet picks up the pace and gets within DRS of him, I think it is going to go the way of Spain once again in the final race of the season. Thomas Ronhaar on the back of Longuet, and he is beginning to use up some of his battery off the exit of these corners. I don't believe Jake Benham is doing the same, and he's now 8 tenths, almost 9 tenths to the rear of the Haas. He's beginning to lose that. He's really beginning to lose touch with these guys.
Yeah, just hasn't looked like he's got the pace today, unfortunately, for Benham. I mean, he's been such good all season. It's just a poor qualifying today. In the end, probably didn't cost him too much because he had such a good start to the race, but who knows what could have happened for him. He won't give up, though. 3.5 laps, you never know what could happen. He will not give up. If I was Ronhaar, I'd be seeing this and thinking, unless the door is wide open, I am staying behind Nicolas Longuet. I will take that 3rd place, and that will be good enough for me to claim my first championship on the PC after coming so close last season. 3 laps to go at the end of this one then. Ismail Fassi leads by 1.2 seconds. We've barely seen the Red Bull because as soon as he broke DRS, he's been nice and clear, and there's not been anything anyone else could really do about him. Longuet in 2nd, Ronhaar in 3rd. I think quite wisely, Ronhaar not deciding to challenge Longuet at the moment. Perezde getting close to the back of Tarabukin, but in the train, probably not close enough to go for the move.
Absolutely, and just in a DRS train, it is so difficult to go for overtakes, but we know under heavy braking conditions that no one goes later than Berezne. As the sun begins to peek through the clouds at the top of this circuit, it's all downhill from here on the rest of their lap. Danny Berezne getting close to the rear of Tarabukin, certainly braking later than the McLaren, but he is not going to be able to challenge, and actually gets a little bit of a slide off the exit of turn number 4, and I think he's going to have to sit back for the time being, recuperate, and then go for the move potentially in the next few laps. He definitely does have more ERS than Tarabukin in front, so he's got an advantage in that regard, as Jake Benham started to use his battery to try and get closer to the rear of Thomas Ronhaar, but it's just all in vain at this point, I think, because Thomas Ronhaar's got more battery at the moment, and if Jake Benham were to get close to the rear of him as they head on towards lap number 35 or 36, 2 to go in this season, Jake Benham, it just looks like it's slipping out of his hands.
It does. I mean, it won't make a massive difference, but he was the first driver to pit. He has got 1 lap older tyres than Ronhaar, Baena, Tarabukin. Longuet's obviously on the harder tyres. He's got 2 lap older tyres than Ismail Fassi. Is that, half a tenth of a second a lap just starting to cost Jake Benham at the moment? Is it just going to be too little, too late for him? Pookie and Tycho Hardy are at it once again, side by side. Down the hill they come towards turn number 4. Who's going to get the position this time? Istvan Pookie stays ahead for now. A driver who pitted under the safety car. Let's not forget earlier on, that strategy with the rain stopping when it did really hasn't worked out for those who pitted under the safety car. You can see the likes of Jabo, Conye, Dowds, Marquis, other drivers who tried that strategy. Not worked out for them. They are going to be outside the points. But for the penultimate time, Ismail Fassi leads the cars around. He is going to lead this race. He has done all the way through. Onto the final lap he comes. Longuet in 2nd, Ronhaar in 3rd. All he has to do is hold on ahead of Jake Benham for another 9 corners, and he will be the season 14 champion.
Everyone dumping their battery at the minute on the final lap of this season. Thomas Ronhaar at the moment with one hand on the championship. He saw it lost due to a steward's inquiry last season. However, I think it's going to be firm in his grasp at the minute as he's on the back of Nicholas Longuet. Jake Benham, he's given it his all in this race. He took a gamble. It appeared to work out in the beginning, but he just struggled for pace in the last few laps of this one. Thomas Ronhaar, I believe he has lost his opportunity to get the move on Nicholas Longuet, but in the last two sectors, Ismail Fassi leading the way, Longuet in second, Thomas Ronhaar with this position ahead of Jake Benham. He'll break the deadlock and he'll take the championship along with it through the final two corners of season 14. Ismail Fassi is going to take victory through here, but off the exit of the final corner, Thomas Ronhaar, finally his name up in lights in season 14. He is your season 14 PC Tier 1 champion.
He's been brilliant all season as Thomas Ronhaar takes the championship. So close, let's not forget. Early on at the start of this race, the new kid on the block in esports. He certainly shook things up in esports. He's certainly, I think it's fair to say, been followed by some controversy. We'll have to wait and see what he does on F1 23. But Thomas Ronhaar, third place today. That is good enough, though, for the championship. Jake Benham gets the in-game driver of the day. Fairly sure that is not going to be any consolation whatsoever.
Not at all, but Luke, that brings us to the end of what was potentially the most tantalizing PC Tier 1 season yet. And once again, we have a new champion, Thomas Ronhaar. Finally, he is your PC champion. He won it, I believe, all the way back in Season 12 on the Xbox. And who won that on the PC? That was Jake Benham, of course, in the inaugural PC season. We've had a different champion in all 4 seasons so far. Thomas Ronhaar will be the 4th. Incredible scenes from him today. But Luke, whilst we've got celebrations for Thomas Ronhaar on a solemn note, that brings us to the end of what has been a fantastic commentary career for you on the F1 games. So much graft and dedication to get yourself to this point. And what a note to end it on.
Yeah, not a bad final race, I think, whatsoever. We had rain, we had safety cars, we had pretty much everything in that race. And we had our 9th winner out of 11 races. Ismail Fassi takes the victory. Nicholas Longuet in second. And our champion, Thomas Ronhaar, in third.
I mean, incredible stuff that we have seen this evening. I hope everyone has enjoyed this race. There's a hashtag going on. Thank you, Luke Etheridge. Thank you, Luke, you absolute rich. Apparently you're rich now. Incredible stuff from the live chat this evening. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in this season. It's been a fantastic season of PC Tier 1 action. I believe I've been here now 3 seasons in WOR, and I think this has been my favourite end to a season of PC action. I mean, it was incredible to watch. Level on points in the final race. And we saw a very dramatic finish. Thomas Ronhaar finally capturing glory. Of course, last season, you weren't here for it, Luke, but Thomas Ronhaar, controversial penalty after contact with Jake Benham that lost in the title, handed it to Jan Otmir, but finally it's gone his way.
Yeah, finally has gone his way. Does seem to be having a few mic problems on Dan's end at the moment. It has gone a tiny bit robotic, so apologies for that one. Yeah, it's finally gone his way. After qualifying, it looked fairly straightforward that it was going to be him taking the championship, but things are never straightforward in Formula 1. Right from the start of the race, Fassi got that incredible start. Tiny bit of contact. We were worried. Well, we were worried for Ronhaar's sake that he might have got damage off the back of Ismail Fassi. I think it's pretty clear that he didn't do so and just managed to hold on for that. But Jake Benham, he tried something different. So close to working out fantastically for him.
Imagine if everyone fitted alongside Ismail Fassi, a lap later, Jake Benham potentially could have had that position on them. He'd had the warmer medium tyres of 2 laps at that point. That's really when they start to get in their working position, in their working order. But wasn't meant to be in the end. Jake Benham, he did give it his best effort, and fair play to Nicholas Longuet as well. And then we know that the personal relationship between himself and Ronhaar isn't the happiest of stories. However, he kept those out of the title fight this evening, and we had, I think, a rightful winner in Thomas Ronhaar. What an end to this season. I'm quickly going to check actually how many races both Benham and Ronhaar missed. I know Nicholas Longuet has lost a number of points in this one. He missed 4 races throughout this season. Sorry, 4 races throughout this season. Jake Benham and Thomas Ronhaar only missed out 1. That was in France. Imagine what we could have seen if Nicholas Longuet turned up to USA, to Azerbaijan, to Belgium. You know, all of these races could have had a repeat champion in this season. Who knows what can happen in season 15? We'll have to wait and see. I can already see that Ismail Fassi and Thomas Ronhaar are in the waiting room. We'll drag the pair of them in, and we'll get to talking with them. And Luke, do you want to start us off with talking to our race winner?
Yeah, will do indeed. Congratulations, Isma, 9th different winner out of 11 races this season. It all looked fairly calm for you out there, if we're being honest. I imagine it was quite a bit more difficult, especially with the changeable conditions.
Well, first of all, GG's to Thomas and Nico. It was tough, to be honest. I think that extra lap saved my race. Even only if it was 1 lap, it helped me a lot to maintain the gap with Thomas and Nico. So yeah, I was trying to maintain the gap without using any res, because I knew Nico was gonna be faster than us at the end of the race with the hearts, which it happened. But yeah, I maintained him out of my DRS until last lap. So yeah, nice way to finish the season. Very happy. Again, winning the last race of WOR season.
We saw, you went a couple of laps later than most of the field actually for the set of the medium tyres. Were you surprised at how quickly the track dried out? Because it looked like, from my point of view, it stopped raining. Within about a minute, it looked like the track was ready for dry tyres.
It happens in this game, sadly. Sometimes it dries up in 2 laps, sometimes never. But yeah, I thought it wasn't lap 16, I think, when people started pitting. I thought it wasn't a lap for mediums, as it was still a bit wet. So yeah, it went well in the end. I had a good gap when I exited the pits, so I could warm up the tires comfortably. And yeah, nothing more to say.
Yeah, and of course, that's going to be, now I imagine, the end for yourself, I imagine. Mainly on F1 22. Are you happy with how things have gone on the game so far? I believe it's like your first full season, I believe, on the first full game on the PC. Are you happy with how things have gone?
Well, I didn't start that well this game, but yeah, during the game I was improving my pace, and now it's not the end for me for this game, as I have to do challengers. Something a bit, difficult for the drivers to get that top 6, which I hope I get it. And yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course. Good luck for challenges, and we'll let you head off. Congratulations to our race winner, Ismail Fassi.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
And next up, Dan, it is time. The champion of Season 14 is Thomas Ronhaar.
Thomas, my friend, how are you feeling after this one?
Yeah, really, really good. First of all, GG to Ismail on the victory, and Nico on the podium, and of course to Jake for the fight throughout the season. Was apart from lap 1 or 2, obviously there were some battles left, right, and centre, and the first couple of laps. But apart from that, I think it's been a very steady race. Nothing really crazy happened throughout the race. Mainly, the only thing that was going to be crucial was the tyre difference. Not the tyre resistance, when we're going to pit from the inters to the dries. It was quite tricky because I didn't know what the ideal lap was to pit, because the telemetry wasn't available for this race. So we had to pretty much guess when to pit. As soon as I entered the last corner, I got a notification on my MFD saying mediums are ready, and I think Jake just about managed to get in the pit lane. But I think really pitting up 16, 17, 18 wouldn't have mattered that much. I think the pace on the intermediate is only going to get much quicker. Obviously, Inter's on the dry track is still very, very fast. So it was going to be a very tricky situation for Jake on the outlap to get ahead. And I think crucially, when he came out of the pits behind me, it was pretty much the same ERS and going across the line to take my second title.
Yeah, of course. I believe it was season 12 that you won it on the Xbox. Now it is your first PC title win. But Thomas, I know for a fact you're not stopping here. What is next from this one?
I think it's quite clear this game is going to be hopefully my year in not only league racing but obviously F1 Esports as well. Gonna be a lot of fun and yeah, absolutely can't wait to get going definitely. And obviously there's only one goal in my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, before we let you get away and pop the champagne to celebrate your championship, is there anything you have to say for anyone that may have doubted you heading into this one and anyone who's talked down on you?
I think I just want to say thank you to literally everybody that's been watching throughout the season and this race mainly. It's been a great season. League racing itself has been quite tricky with this game. Obviously, it's been quite a questionable game throughout the season. I don't think a lot of people particularly enjoyed it as much as the last games. But yeah, we gave it a good go, and I think everybody still managed to enjoy the fights throughout the races. And yep, bring on F1 23.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll let you get away then and enjoy your championship. PC Tier 1 champion. It must sound good in your head. But everyone watching in the live chat, Thomas Ronhaar, your PC Tier 1 Season 14 champion.
Thank you so much. Alright, take care.
And Luke, looking in the interview room, it doesn't seem like anyone else is waiting at the moment. That brings us to the end of what was an incredible season.
Yeah, it was. I mean, right from the start, I think there was 4 drivers that looked like they had just that little bit of extra pace when they needed it. Obviously, our champion, Thomas Ronhaar. Obviously, the other 2 contenders that we saw tonight, Jake Benham and Nicholas Longuet. Well, let's not forget, at the start of the season, Alvaro Cavaton was on a great run. He had to miss a few races for various reasons. Who knows what he could have done if he'd have been able to attend more races. And I think Thomas summed it up. It has been quite for various reasons that have been explored by multiple people, multiple videos, quite a controversial game. I think we can see in whole. Well, hopefully, F1 2023 doesn't have the same issues. I think Thomas Ronhaar will be looking to put a few people in their place, it's safe to say, in Season 15 and in esports next year, and in whatever he looks to do, because he has been fantastic since he moved to the PC platform.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, you know, why stop here in league racing and esports? I mean, we've seen his efforts in karting on, well, we've seen his posts on Twitter. He's been winning multiple races. I'm not too sure how the karting division works, but he seems to be taking some very impressive victories, and potentially he could have a future outside of the virtual world. Of course, really well done as well in this season to Jake Benham. I mean, what an incredible charge he had. The pair of them just seemed to be in alongside Longuet and Caraton. I think the 4 of them just in a class above the rest. But Jake Benham really was the most consistent, I would say, throughout the entire season.
Yeah, I think he'd admit it as well. We mentioned it in this qualifying session. That is probably his only weakness. And we're talking maybe a 10th of a second to everyone else, but that can cost you 4 or 5 places in a grid as close as this. There's absolutely nothing wrong with his race pace. Did a fantastic job going that lap earlier. Or short-term gain, long-term pain. I think in the end his tyres just died a bit too much towards the end. On lap number 1, he was nearly alongside Ronhaar. He was nearly ahead of Ronhaar, but he started 6 places behind him. Who knows what could have happened if he'd have made that move stick, ifs and buts and all that. But I think Jake will be very happy with how things have gone for him on this game and in esports as well. Let's not forget, all these guys are still, they're a lot younger than me. They're about the same age as you, Dan, but they're a lot younger than me. They've got bright futures ahead of them, either in the virtual or in the real racing world.
Yeah, they're even a little bit younger than me. I think Jake Benham is is he 16 or 17? I think it's 2 years younger than me. Thomas Ronhaar's about 1.5 years younger than me, so I think I've passed my window of opportunity to get involved with these guys, but I am more than happy to watch the action and commentate it. But next season, Luke, it's not going to be alongside you, and I think it's going to feel a lot different in the commentary box. Whoever I end up with, I'm going to have a fantastic time with them. But throughout this season and the last, it has been incredible working with you, and I think before we sign off, we need a little speech from yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I'd just like to say, thank you to everyone that has, obviously watched the league as commentators. We just try and play a small part in it, and we just try to make the action a bit more entertaining. Quite a few times, like tonight, it doesn't really need us to say too much. We can just sit and watch it all happen. But yeah, thanks to everyone that has watched me in various leagues and given me the opportunities over the last 5 years. Full-time league racing commentary, yeah, it is over for me. I might make the odd one-off appearance in special events, but yeah, full-time. I think it's time for me to say goodbye and let someone else take the hot seat for now.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm very upset about it. You with that speech, you're gonna make me cry at this point. But yeah, whatever you go on to do, that you're gonna be absolutely smashing at it, and I'm really looking forward to a potential one-off with you in the future. But I think everyone, it is about time that we wrap up for this evening, and for the final time in season 14. It has been a season of ups and downs. We've now had 9 different winners in 11 races. I mean, it's been the most competitive season of league racing I think we've seen in WOR. So incredible stuff all season long. Thank you everyone for tuning into it, and it's been so fun, you know, just commentating it throughout the entirety. Sport has been immense, and typically when we get to the end of the game cycle, you know, league numbers begin to dwindle, but everyone has been so active and so supportive in the live chat, not only of just myself and Luke, but of the league as a whole. So thank you everyone for tuning in and making this ride that little bit more special. For the final time then this season, make sure you follow WOR on Twitter and subscribe to us on YouTube. There's a big red button beneath the stream. And if you want all of your WOR updates, you can check the link to the Discord in the description. If you want to find myself on Twitter at DanfieldF1, and if you want to find Luke, you can find him at LukeEtheridge95. You can find both of our Twitter handles beneath our faces on stream if you can't spell it out. But for the final time then, thank you everyone for tuning in to what has been a fantastic season of league racing. We will see you on F1 23. Thank you once again, and good night.